Chapter 483. Seeing that Jiang Zhao was about to leave, Ouyang Yen stopped him. "Second brother, I asked Grandpa Qin out for dinner tonight. Grandpa said we should go together." "Okay, wait for me to get off work." There was a saying in Haicheng, rich in the south, rich in the north, chaotic in the west, poor in the east. As the city's construction increased, this disparity seemed to decrease. However, the rich still gathered in the south. This was where the first group of rich people settled down and bought their properties. Every inch of land was worth its weight in gold. 2 years ago, an old man named Shi Jintian moved into Haicheng. He built the Shi family's main house in the south. In this area, he built a house with mountains and lakes, showing off his family's wealth. When Enyu returned to the Shi residence, Shi Jintian was sitting on the sofa, watching the news. His face was flushed red, and his physique was sturdier than an ordinary old man. As long as he stood up, he would exude a heroic spirit that resembled a hero and a bandit. "Grandpa." Unwu greeted old man Shi as usual. "Unwu, are you happy today?" Old man Shi saw Unwu and quickly turned off the TV and walked over. "I'm fine. Did you encounter something that made you unhappy recently? Grandpa always sees you in a bad mood." "Grandpa, you're thinking too much. I'm always like this." "Master." Little Master's studio, Audiobook. The 40-year-old housekeeper, Sister Hua, shouted from upstairs. Before she could finish, Unwu ran up the stairs. Shi Jintian panicked and chased after him. Even though he was in his 60s, his footsteps were strong and strong. There was an intimidating aura about him that swept past the servants in his wake. A crisp slap sounded from upstairs. "Pia." Then there was the sound of someone kneeling on the floor. Gui's voice was heard. "Little Master, I just wanted to help you clean," and you bent down and grabbed the neck of the 30-year-old servant, Gui. His eyes were bloodshot, and it was as if a blood-eyed leopard had suddenly jumped out of the gentle boy's eyes. "What did you see? Who allowed you to enter my studio? Who allowed you to touch my things? Are you tired of living?" "Young master, I didn't do it on purpose. I just opened the door and didn't go in." Sister Hua was scared out of her wits. When she wanted to stop the fight, she was pushed by Unwu. Her whole body fell to the corridor, and the hair at the back of her head fell out. Shi Jintian stood behind Unwu. He furrowed his brows and said in a voice as loud as a bell, "In the future, you will only clean Yunwu's room if he asks you to. Otherwise, if you anger him again, don't blame me for being ruthless." "Master, young master, I won't do it again. I won't do it again." And you looked at the crack in the door, closed his eyes, and took a few deep breaths. After a while, he said calmly, "Gui, you go down." Gui scrambled away when he heard that. Shi Jintian quickly went up to Unwu and asked anxiously, "Unwu, are you feeling unwell?" "No, I've made Grandpa worry. I'll try my best to control myself next time." Shi Jintian stroked Yunwu's chest. "You lost your temper because the servants provoked you. Relax." Unwu nodded and walked to Sister Hua. He helped her up and tidied her hair. "Aunt Hua, I'm sorry for what happened. I didn't do it on purpose. I couldn't control myself." Although Sister Hua was pushed to the ground, she looked at Unwu and didn't complain. Her eyes were full of heartache. "Young master, it's Aunt Hua's fault. I almost let someone touch your things and made you angry." Unwu slowly wiped the tears off Sister Hua's face and said softly, "Rest early tonight. I'll ask the kitchen to make some sweet soup for you. I'm afraid that you'll be in a bad mood. Eating something sweet will make you happier." No need. After comforting Sister Hua and Shi Jintian, Unwu entered the studio and turned on the lights. The bright room was filled with the smell of oil paint. He walked to the window and covered the drawing board with a white cloth. He raised his hand and pulled it open. On the 4 drawing boards, the women were wearing different clothes and had different hairstyles. But no matter how their expressions changed, they were still the same person. He turned sideways and pulled open the white cloth next to him. On the two drawing boards were the graceful figures of the young women. They had seductive curves, but their eyes didn't have the slightest intention of flirting. Unwoo looked at the drawing in front of him. His eyes were as clear as water and slowly filled with warmth. But there wasn't the slightest trace of lust in them. At that time, he framed the drawing and made a copy of this drawing. He wanted to make a copy at that time, but he didn't look at the original drawing at all. He drew one based on his memory. It turned out that when he was thinking of someone, his memory could be so complete. Even the curve of her curly eyelashes when he drew could be engraved in his mind. Yun Yi. If only he had known her name earlier. Then, he wouldn't have had to think about her becoming an artist at Wudong Street. All he had to do was look up at the sky. The sky was filled with her. Weren't white clouds clouds? They had known each other for more than a year. It had been more than a year, and she had abandoned him just like that. It was just because he asked something that he shouldn't have. He pulled open the curtains and looked at the bright moon outside the window. When he touched his heart, he realized that this was the feeling of heartache. It was a feeling that tugged at his heart. Xia Qian called Yi Er and asked her to have dinner together. She said that her sister liked her a lot and wanted to ask if she was interested in being a design assistant. She could be an assistant while studying. When she graduated, she would introduce her to a designer job. Yi Er felt that this was like a pie falling from the sky. It was too good of a thing. The location of the date was Xiushui Jiangnan. However, enemies were bound to meet on a narrow road. When she saw Jiang Zhao's back view, she pretended to be indifferent. Who cares? However, when she saw old Master Qin Fian, and that Yun from today enter the private room, Yi Er couldn't remain calm. What was going on? Meet the parents? He actually chased her away and brought a woman to meet the parents? Xiaoya crossed her arms and tilted her head to the right. She reached out to tuck her hair behind her ear and nudged Yi Er. You know them? Yi Er wrinkled her nose and harumphed at Xiaoya. I'm not that old-fashioned, okay? Everyone in Sea City knows that I'm a phoenix that has its feathers plucked. Yes. Who doesn't know Miss from Yun University? What I meant was, are you familiar with them? Xiaoya had also heard about Yi Er from Xia Qian. Although she knew that the Yun family's matter was troublesome, Zhuang Yichen didn't say anything. He only said, stay away from Yun Yi. What? Why should she listen to him? They had agreed that they wouldn't have anything to do with each other. As long as her body didn't betray him, it was fine. Besides, she wasn't his woman anymore. She didn't want him to meddle in her affairs. She wouldn't listen to him. I'm not familiar with them. Yi Er turned and entered the private room. Xia Qian sat at the head of the table and picked up the menu to order. Xiaoya walked over and slapped Xia Qian on the shoulder. Go away. You can't sit here if you don't have money. Xia Qian snatched the bag from Xiaoya's shoulder and held it in her hand. She shamelessly said, it's my treat. You can sit here. Yi Er sat to the side and covered his face. He thumped his chest and stamped his feet. Oh my God, I really don't want to tell outsiders that I know the two of you. Especially Qiu and Xiaoya. He let go of his hand and looked at Xia Qian. Qian, you're in the media. Why don't you film a documentary about Sister Xiaoya's life? It'll definitely sell for a lot of money and I'll be able to benefit from it. When the time comes, my feathers will grow back. Xia Qian looked at Xiaoya in disdain and said to Yi Er, forget it. If you film it for her, it'll be exactly what she wants. She's always thinking of using unorthodox methods to promote herself. She turned and poked Xiaoya's forehead. Wicked. The order of society is destroyed by people like you. Xiaoya stood up and said fiercely, you impudent thing. Be careful or I'll beat you to death. Yi Er was increasingly not in the mood to watch the two of them fooling around. He was only thinking about what the people in the other private room were talking about and what they were planning. This woman was so intimate with him in the morning. Her eyes were full of love and affection. In order not to make that woman angry, he actually ignored her. In the future, that Yun would be living in the Qingbei apartment. What would she do? Jiang Zhao was getting married. What would she do? Would he still care about her? But he was already married. Even if he cared about her, she couldn't do that kind of thing. Yi Er didn't know what was going on. Whenever he saw a family meeting a woman, he instinctively felt that they were discussing marriage. This feeling made him panic. So what if they were purging people underground? It wasn't that shameful. To put it bluntly, so what if he had a girlfriend now? Everyone had a chance to fight and choose before marriage. But to be the third party in someone else's marriage was really shameful. That was the bottom line of morality. Even if she had to beg others to help her, she didn't want to fall to that level. But why? Although she was using him, he was also using her. He was using her father in prison. Because of her father's injustice, he used this to defeat his opponent. Wasn't that right? He admitted it himself. Originally, they were using each other, but he still slept with her again and again. She didn't care for giving clothes and buying jewelry. Anyway, it wasn't rare. But he was worried that she wouldn't sleep well and catch a cold. He even bought her long-sleeved pajamas and put them on for her personally. Wasn't this good for her? Why was this man so annoying? He just wanted to give her some benefits, and she was happy to let him sleep with her. She had been with him for so long, and now he was asking her to find a new backer. Now that he had played enough, he wanted to just pat her butt and call it a day. Why? She had been watching his face for so long. Suddenly, a woman flew in from another planet and kicked her away just like that? She didn't get any benefits at all. Humph. She wouldn't let him play her like that. Even if he wanted to get married, that person could only be her. She would never be the third party outside of marriage. Tuesday happened to be the 15th day of the lunar calendar. It was autumn and the sun was shining. Because Old Master Qin's birthday was coming soon, the Jiang family had already come to High City from Jiangzhou. They invited everyone to burn incense at the Panlong Temple to show their sincerity. The Panlong Temple was in a scenic area. A group of people walked slowly and looked at the intoxicating orange, red, and yellow scenery. Such a spectacular group attracted countless people's attention. Not to mention that there were more than 30 people. The handsome men and beautiful women among them made the tourists feel like they were filming an idol drama. Taking a closer look, there were many big shots familiar to the people of High City. Qin Rongfang, the old master of the Qin family, Jiang Liqin, the commander of the southern military region, Qin Rongfang's daughter, Qin Zhen, the boss of Jinzi Investment, Jiang Zhao, the deputy mayor, and Qin Fian, the heir of the Qin family. There were also big shots in Jiangzhou that the people of High City were not familiar with. The old master of the Jiang family, the former commander of the southern military region, and his grandson, Jiang Rui, the eldest son of Jiangzhou. Jiang Rui was wearing a casual shirt and casual pants, holding his son Jiang Mian, who was less than 1 year old. The tall, handsome, and rich dad was particularly eye-catching. The woman next to him clapped her hands towards her son and reached out. Mian, can mommy carry you? Let daddy rest. Ad. Hongcha 866. Chapter 484. The man looked at his wife affectionately. How heavy is Nianmian? This kind of physical work is not suitable for a woman. Jiang Zhao took 2 steps back to Jiang Rui's side. The 2 men were of the same height and were both handsome men. However, their styles were completely different. One looked gentle and elegant, while the other looked calm and reserved. Brother, you're always showing off your love. Are you trying to get grandfather and grandfather to unite all the men in our family to have a competition? Old Master Qin stopped, turned around, and said angrily, not only that, especially Fei Yan, he can be sentenced to death. Qin Feiyu pinched the frame of his spectacles, lifted it, and said bitterly, brother, you know that every time this topic comes up, the fire will definitely burn me. I just like a man. Is it worth it for you to rack your brains to force me? Jiang Rui held his son with one hand and put his other hand on Xiang Wan's shoulder. He lowered his head and whispered in her ear, I'll bring you here to watch the show in the future. Old Master Qin snorted. Aren't you afraid that the fire will burn on you when you publicize it and admit it publicly? I just want more people to support me. Dream on. I'll find a woman to give you artificial insemination. When the insemination is successful, I'll drive you out of the Qin family. Old Master Qin turned around and continued to walk away. Old Master Jiang walked over and patted Old Master Qin's shoulder. He said earnestly, Old Qin, don't be angry. Your children and grandchildren will have their own blessings. Then he sighed. Sigh, you don't know how annoying it is to have a child in the family. Nian is so young, but the family is about to be overturned by him. He only knows how to torture me. Every time he sees me, he'll shout, Grandfather, grandfather, carry me. When I hold him in my arms, his chubby hands will pinch my mouth and rub my face. It's so annoying. Then he laughed. Old Master Qin was so angry that he blew his beard and glared at him. This guy didn't come to persuade him. He obviously wanted to anger him to death. He was angry that he didn't have a grandson to hug. The others were already used to such scenes and only hoped that the show would be more exciting. When Jiang Zhao received a call from Yi Er, he slowed down his steps and waited until the large group of people had left before answering the call. Hello. He heard Yi Er's soft voice in a crowded place. Ah, Zhao, what are you doing? The corners of her mouth lifted slightly. I went to burn incense with my family. I'm walking now. I'm just outside the scenic area. Ah, Zhao, I miss you. I'll go and find you today. Be good, don't mess around. After a few days, when all the relatives leave, I'll pick you up. By then, don't live there anymore. I'll buy you a new house outside. Jiang Zhao felt that he had become more and more obedient to Yi Er recently. In the past, when she acted coquettishly and acted cute, he only glared at her and did not pursue the matter. Now, he actually knew how to coax her. There's no need for a house. I don't go back to where I live now. Hello, did you miss me? Jiang Zhao looked at the group in front of him and the smile on his face widened. Suddenly, another girl's voice sounded. It was very tender and should be about the same age as Yi Er. There was a distance between them and she shouted, Yi Er. Don't use your cell phone when crossing the road. Jiang Zhao frowned and repeated, don't use your cell phone when crossing the road. The girl's voice was sweet. Just like before, she always loved to act coquettishly. Hey, you haven't answered me yet. Did you miss me? The screeching sound of the car tires skidding across the asphalt road and the scalp-numbing sound of the brakes seemed to come from the other side of the sky. It went straight through the phone and into the man's eardrums. Ah! Yi Er screamed. Bam! It was the blunt sound of something hard colliding with something soft. There was a clattering sound in his ears. Yi Er's cell phone must have fallen to the ground. Jiang Zhao frowned again. Yi Er? No one answered. Almost at the same time, the girl's voice sounded again. This time, it was a scream and she was even further away. Oh my God. Yi Er. Car. Ah. It was chaos on the other end of the phone. Jiang Zhao felt as if a thunderbolt had exploded in his mind. His heart tightened and he staggered. The veins on his forehead were throbbing as he screamed into the phone, Yun Yi. Jiang Zhao didn't know how loud he screamed. The dozens of people who had walked away all turned around to look at him. When Qin Fian saw the change in Jiang Zhao's expression, he quickly walked over. Although they were usually bickering, as a younger brother, he could tell when something was wrong. He asked seriously, Bro, what happened? Hurry up. Give this cell phone number to Dad and let him use the military system to locate it. Hurry up and find out where it is. Jiang Zhao reached out to rub his forehead. He felt as though his legs were filled with lead. He placed the cell phone screen in front of Qin Fian and tried his best to calm down. Calm down, calm down. However, his hands couldn't help but tremble. He tried to breathe in and out to calm himself down, but it was to no avail. The girl's cheerful and joyful voice was still ringing in his ears. Her voice was soft and filled with anticipation. "Ah, Zhao, did you miss me? You haven't answered me. Did you miss me? Bro, what's wrong? Hurry up. Why are you talking so much nonsense?" Jiang Zhao looked up and shouted. Qin Fian knew that this was no small matter from his furious expression. He quickly took the cell phone from his brother's hand. Just as Qin Fian turned around, a figure suddenly appeared behind Jiang Zhao and hugged him from behind. Jiang Zhao's back suddenly stiffened. He quickly turned around and immediately grabbed the girl's shoulder. He was so angry that his whole body was trembling. He wanted to strangle her to death. However, before he could hit her, she had already tiptoed, wrapped her arms around his neck, and kissed him deeply. This was big news. The Jiang and Qin families thought that this was big news. From time to time, passers-by would take out their cameras and start taking pictures when they saw such a handsome couple kissing passionately on the street. Jiang Zhao obviously hadn't come back to his senses yet. His trembling breaths hadn't calmed down yet. The familiar soft and fresh smell filled his mouth and nose again. Yunyi, He pushed her away fiercely. Yunyi. What are you trying to do? The tall and handsome man was like a lion that was on the verge of going crazy. His gaze that made people's hearts tremble and the veins on his palm that was tightly gripping the girl's shoulder were telling others that he was unable to restrain his anger. How could she play such a big joke on him? No matter how dazzling Jin Xiu's gaze was, it wouldn't hurt her skin. The rays of light passed through the gaps of the bright red maple leaves and shone into the girl's bright black pupils. It was like the light on the surface of a lake, shining brightly. She looked up at him and ignored his anger. She looked straight into his eyes and raised her head confidently. Her hands cupped around her lips like a trumpet. She bent down and shouted at him loudly and confidently, "Jiang. I want to marry you. I want to marry you." Wow! Dense applause and exclamations rose one after another. Many people gave Yi Er a thumbs up. Who said that only men could propose? Who said that a man had to kneel on one knee before getting married? Who said that women couldn't make vows in public? I want to marry you. Marry you. Firm and without regrets. Women could also be like this. The young people had started to cheer and shouted in unison, "Be together. Be together. Be together." Although most of the people here were tourists and most of them did not care about the politics of other provinces, the people from Haicheng would also come here to burn incense and petition. Not many people did not know Jiang Zhao. Furthermore, he was a handsome and young deputy mayor. Those who did not watch the news would watch the TV and be infatuated with him. Qin Fian stood there and looked at the girl who proposed to his brother. Then he looked at the girl's profile picture on his personal phone. Forget it. There was no need to use the satellite to locate them. It was impossible for Jiang Zhao to throw a tantrum at Yi Er in such an environment. However, due to his frequently polarized state of mind, he could only force a smile at the corner of his mouth. At this moment, the elders from the Jiang and Qin families were also nervous. A few seconds after the confession, professional SLR cameras were flashing non-stop. The shutter sounds were also incessant. It was obviously a professional media. Yinyi asked him to get to know Xia Qian. She did not do her own thing and set him up first. This was a fact that could no longer be covered up. Unless, when Jiang Zhao's father, Jiang Liqing, walked over quickly, he pulled Yi Er to the side and said to the crowd calmly and gently, "I'm sorry to disturb everyone. I didn't expect my fiancé to give me such a surprise here." Jiang Liqing had always had a fiery personality. When he heard Jiang Zhao's words to the media, he stopped in his tracks. He did not even have a chance to explain. Qin Rongfang's expression was already stormy. Old Master Jiang didn't know much about the rich people in High City, and he wouldn't casually ask Jiang Zhao about the details of politics. Moreover, he had never seen Yi before. But when he saw his old friend's expression, he knew that things were not good. What's going on? Old Qin? This girl is not suitable for Zhao Zhao. You have been against it, haven't you? He looked at his uncle Jiang Liqin and then looked at his grandfather. But he said to Qin Rongfang, Grandpa of the Qin family also likes to do this kind of thing? Although Jiang Zhao was the son of his uncle Jiang Liqin and the brothers had been fighting since childhood, they had a good relationship. He did not want his younger brother to follow in his footsteps. Elder Jiang looked embarrassed. He looked at Qin Rongfang and advised, adults can't interfere with the children's affairs. You know my eldest brother's affairs. Let me tell you, Zhao Zhao's surname is Jiang. Don't go too far. Jiang Rui stopped talking. Qin Rongfang said angrily, so what if he's surnamed Jiang? He came to Haiqing with his mother when he was 14 years old. Is my relationship with him less than yours in the first 14 years? You want to fight with me, don't you? You old bastard. Elder Jiang knew that Qin Rongfang was angry, so he did not care about what was happening. He snorted, seeing that you are not dead yet, I am embarrassed to die first. Ouyang Yan, who was standing in the crowd, could no longer differentiate between north and south. What was going on? Fiancé? When did he have a fiancé? Did she transfer back to work just to see him marry someone else? Yi Er only knew that she had to take the risk. Especially when she saw that Yun Yun was so close to Jiang Zhao's grandfather along the way, she could not let those irreversible things happen. Attention, Songshu 566. Chapter 485. Xia Qian had prepared the recording in advance to see how Jiang Zhao would react to her. If he reacted, it meant that he wasn't so cold-blooded that he didn't care about her life or death. At least, he didn't treat her as a stranger who had nothing to do with him. Since that was the case, she could take a gamble. In front of the media and the public, the Jiang and Qin families had always been friendly and modest. But today, they had to stop praying early. The Qin family's mansion was quaint. The main hall and living room were full of people. This was the liveliness Qin Rongfang should have before his birthday, but it wasn't as lively as it should be. No one spoke and looked at the door from time to time, waiting for the main character to appear. In the north of the front yard, there was Jiang Zhao's room. Yi Er was pressed against the door by him. Her almond-shaped eyes stared at him without blinking. He laughed coldly. Yin Yi, you're not going to pretend anymore, are you? You're going to show your claws, aren't you? Yi Er raised her chin. She was angry at the thought of him chasing her away and marrying another woman. Why? Did he want to kill her for ruining his plan? Yes, after being bullied by you for so long, I can finally hold my head high. Jiang Zhao's teeth were pressed against his cheeks. The lines on his face were tense and she could hear the sound of his teeth grinding. I bullied you? What do you want? Jiang Zhao, let me tell you, I'm not Yunyi for you to play with. You promised to save my father. Don't think about breaking your promise. Jiang Zhao smiled bitterly. For your brother and father, you climbed into my bed. Now that you're afraid that I'll go back on my word, you can't wait to marry me. For your father, you're willing to sacrifice yourself like this? Yi Er's breathing stopped for 2 seconds. That night when she asked him if he liked her, he pretended to sleep and avoided her. Did he hate that kind of emotional entanglement? But it didn't matter if he didn't love her. After all, they were just using each other. But if he wanted to marry someone else, there was no way. What does that matter? We don't have any feelings for each other. I don't want you to love me, and I don't need to love you. We're not tired. Or if you get my father out, I'll stop bothering you. What do you think? The man slowly loosened his grip on the woman's chin. Even his voice was no longer as hard as before. He exhaled and said, Fine, fine, I'll fulfill your wish. He let go of Yi, and threw her onto the sofa with all his might. Jiang Zhao reached out to turn off the light, making the room instantly dark. No one could peek at his emotions. With the light in the yard, he walked to the window and lit a cigarette. Yi Er got up from the sofa. She felt a few strands of hair fall on her face. She reached out to tidy them. Her gaze fell on the window, and she couldn't look away. The night sky outside the window was cloudy. The man was wearing a dark blue shirt, and at this time, he blended into the night. Only when he smoked could she see his gloomy expression. When he smoked, he used a lot of force because Yi Er saw the glowing red coals of the cigarette glow for a long time when he inhaled. She really wanted to turn into the smoke and be sucked deep into his lungs by him. His eyes were sore and swollen, and the corners of his eyes hurt a little. He didn't have any feelings for her. Was it so difficult to force him to marry her? He loved someone else. When she saw that Yun Yun's completely dazed expression today, she knew that she had ruined his happiness. He must hate her to death, right? What did it matter? In any case, Mrs. Jiang was now hers. Unless he dared to tell the public that it was a joke for another woman, he wouldn't say or do that. There were many political figures who didn't have a happy marriage, but no one dared to make such a joke. Yi Er followed Jiang Zhao into the main hall. The wall and ceiling lights were all turned on, and the entire house was dazzlingly bright. Old Master Jiang and Qin Rongfang sat in the main seats of the main hall. After finding out about the Yun family situation, Old Master Jiang wasn't in the mood to bicker with Qin Rongfang. When Ouyang Yan saw Yi Er today, he knew that this woman was really related to Jiang Zhao. That day, she kept apologizing to Jiang Zhao for bumping into her. But when she saw Jiang Zhao helping her, she changed her attitude. She was obviously jealous. It was rare for Qin Fian to be so serious. Because of this, no one could laugh. Jiang Zhao was the second grandson of the Jiang family, the eldest grandson of the Qin family. He was the son of the commander of the military region, Jiang Liqing. He was also the son of the chairman of Jin Chao Investment, Qin Zhen. He was the deputy mayor of Hai City, and he had registered 2 companies under his mother's name. He had a bright future, and he could bring benefits to his family. With Jiang Zhao around, it was very convenient for Qin Fian to do whatever he wanted. Because his brother was the deputy mayor, even if Jiang Zhao didn't show up, he could still enjoy the privileges brought by his power. Although the Qin family and Jiang Liqing had a lot to do with this, Jiang Zhao had been on the rise for the past 2 years. He could easily get the position of mayor, and he would enter the provincial party committee in the future. No one was willing to see such a person be affected because of a marriage. Yun Yi was the daughter of an economic criminal. Yun Hongwei was once involved in a power struggle and became a sacrificial lamb. At that time, Qin Rongfang knew that Jiang Zhao had stayed in the Qin palace for a night. Later on, he also talked to Jiang Zhao about it. Hai City was a place of power, and they couldn't easily destroy its balance as it would affect the whole situation. However, they didn't expect that the 2 of them were actually involved. If they wanted Jiang Zhao's future to not be affected, they could only get Yun Hongwei out and release him without charges. However, this would be a huge sacrifice for the Qin family and the Jiang family, and they would offend too many people. Although Jiang Rui was playing with his son in Xiang Wan's arms, he was listening attentively to other people's conversations. Old Master Jiang said, "Zhao Zhao, can you bear this responsibility?" Jiang Zhao stood in the middle of the hall. His back was stiff, and his voice was low. He didn't answer directly. Let's keep it simple. Yi Er was silent at the side. When she heard his words, she couldn't help but feel a little moved. Qin Rongfang and Old Master Jiang stood up from their seats almost at the same time as Jiang Liqing. Their purpose was to hold Jiang Liqing's hand, but Old Master Jiang was 1 step slower than Qin Rongfang. Qin Rongfang held Jiang Liqing's hand in his palm and shouted, "My grandson, if you dare to touch him, I'll fight you to the death. For the past 15 years, I've taken care of the most. What have you ever done? You can try touching him. Qin Zhen hasn't remarried to you yet, and she dares to touch you under my nose. What if she remarries you? Old Master Jiang also hoped that his eldest son and daughter-in-law would remarry as soon as possible. However, Qin Zhen was good to everyone, and she was still filial to him like how she was to her father-in-law. It was really annoying for her to act like this in front of his eldest son. Jiang Liqing held back his anger and put down his hand. However, he couldn't help but get angry at Jiang Zhao. You said to keep it simple? Have you ever considered our big family? Jiang Zhao said lightly, when my parents divorced, I didn't consider such a big family. Jiang Liqing's stubborn temper had just gone down, and now it was going to rise again. Qin Zhen stood up slowly. Her hair was tied up in a dignified bun at the back of her head. Everyone knew that Qin Rongfang's daughter, Qin Zhen, was a very capable and strong woman. However, her appearance was as gentle as water. She gave birth to Jiang Zhao when she was 20 years old. Although she was almost 50 years old, her charm was as if she was in her 30s. Qin Zhen glanced at Jiang Liqing and said lightly, in my opinion, if you like her, just marry her. Otherwise, you'll be like some people who marry someone you don't like and regret it for the rest of your life. After you get married, you get drunk and throw tantrums every day. Jiang Liqing was wearing a military uniform. When he saw that his ex-wife had spoken, he immediately lowered his voice. Qin Zhen, as long as I oppose it, you support it. As long as I support it, you oppose it. However, the matter of the child is a big matter. You can't go against me so easily. So many years have passed since the things that happened when we were young, Qin Zhen said disdainfully, then show me your support. I want to see if I will go against you. She ignored the dumbfounded Jiang Liqing and walked to Yi Er's side. She pulled him to the guest chair and sat down, allowing Yi Er to stand. The beautiful mother-in-law sitting on the Chinese-style guest chair had the standard sitting posture of a member of a prestigious family. Although her voice was gentle when she spoke to Yi Er, her aura was not weak at all. In my opinion, it's too late to scold anyone. I just want to tell you that as Jiang Zhao's daughter-in-law, there are many things you have to pay attention to. In such a big family, it's necessary to respect the elders. In the past, even if you were the daughter of a rich family, you have to put away those thorns in your temper. No matter how fierce you are, go back to your room, close the door and send it to your husband. Once you're out of your room, you have to be dignified, reserved, generous, and decent. You can't do anything that offends public decency. These shouldn't be difficult, right? Yi Er turned to look at Jiang Zhao but found that Jiang Zhao was not looking at her. She was a little disappointed. Then she looked at her future mother-in-law and nodded. I'll do it well. Old Master Jiang had experienced what happened to Jiang Rui, so he didn't dare to oppose anyone. He had been traumatized. No matter how heavy his thoughts were, he didn't dare to make a fuss in front of his child. Jiang Rui and Xiang Wan acted as if they didn't know anything and just teased their son in a low voice. Ouyang Yen couldn't stay calm anymore. She couldn't continue to be dignified. She stood up and walked to Qin Zhen. She clenched her fists, and there were some clearly visible veins on her neck. Auntie, I object. I don't agree with them being together like this. They're not suitable. They can't get married. Qin Zhen looked up at Ouyang Yen with a faint smile. Oh, she said. Object? What reason? What method? The key is how to persuade the public and the media. Qin Rongfang doted on his eldest daughter very much. He felt that she was no worse than his son. Although Qin Zhen's business was not under the name of the Qin Group, it was still doing well and had made a name for itself. Therefore, when she decided on something, even if he was unhappy, he would not refute it directly. Ouyang Yen analyzed Yi Er's family situation seriously. Then she looked at Yi Er from the side and said calmly, I think her purpose is not pure. If she really loves second brother, how could she force second brother to do this? She clearly knows how much her father's matter will affect second brother, yet she still wants to publicize their relationship like this. It's obvious that she wants to use the Qin family's power to offend the officials in order to save her father. Jiang Zhao didn't speak. He closed his eyes for a while and then opened them again. He walked to Yi Er. Yun Yun, whether we love her or not is our business. You don't have to analyze it for everyone. She has been with me for a long time. I should give her a status. So, since it's decided, there's no need to discuss it anymore. Jiang Rui stood up and walked over to pat Jiang Zhao's shoulder. We haven't seen each other for a long time. Shall we go for a drink later? He looked at Qin Fian and smiled. Fian, together? Qin Fian nodded and said, of course. Jiang Zhao looked at Yi Er and said to Jiang Rui, okay, I'll send Yi Er back first. Yi heaved a sigh of relief. After Jiang Zhao left with Yi Er, Ouyang Yen bit her lips and went to hold Qin Rongfang's arm. She said sadly, Grandpa Qin, how can second brother like her? They won't be happy. You love second brother the most. How can you let him compromise like this? Grandpa Qin, your objection must be useful. Beauty novel, Xinwu 799. Chapter 486. Jiang Zhao glanced at Ouyang Yen and said, if Jiang Zhao doesn't like her, he will definitely leave her here and let you drown her with your saliva. What's more, is Jiang Zhao a person who can be threatened by any woman? The Qin family is obviously against it. As long as he doesn't buy it, the Qin family and the Jiang family can't deal with a down-and-out daughter. Don't treat Jiang Zhao as a pushover. No one can bully him since he was a child. Qin Fian was the only one who had seen the photo on Jiang Zhao's mobile phone. He saw through everything. He bumped Jiang Rui's shoulder and said ambiguously, brother, no wonder you love someone. Hearing his words, Master Jiang felt lucky that he didn't say too much just now. Qin Rongfang slammed the table, which shocked Ouyang Yen so much that he quickly let go of his hand and stepped aside. Tonight, Qin Rongfang's sage-like temperament didn't stay on him. My grandson is ruined by you people. Make it clear. He is my grandson. Master Jiang also roared, besides, he can't be ruined. If the Qin family is weak in High City, it will definitely be ruined. If you can't manage it, I will. Qin Rongfang looked at Master Jiang with hatred and took a deep breath. After calming down for a few seconds, he said, Lai Qin, investigate the Yun family's affairs thoroughly and find someone to intervene. No matter how much it costs, we can't affect Zhao Zhao's future. After that, he didn't forget to stare at Master Jiang. Jiang Liqing frowned deeply and nodded solemnly. In the A8 carriage, the man and the woman were silent. Jiang Zhao couldn't understand the feeling of being pricked by needles in his heart. If they didn't talk so much tonight, maybe he wouldn't let a demon suddenly break into his heart. That demon wanted to run out of his body and kill the woman sitting in the co-pilot's seat at any time. He didn't dare to forget what she said for a moment. For her father, it was not that he didn't dare to, but he couldn't forget it. She said that she could finally hold her head high. He thought that he had treated her well these days, but she wanted to take revenge like this. Thinking that the woman beside him was about to become his wife and thinking about the conversation that night, he felt a knot in his heart. Aren't you afraid that you won't be happy after marriage? Wouldn't she regret it when she finally met the man who was willing to marry her for no one else? What kind of identity did she have to pursue her own happiness? Yi Er looked out the window. Who can guarantee that married couples will be happy? She couldn't be so great as to care about his happiness. She only knew that he couldn't marry anyone except her. The position of Mrs. Jiang could only be hers. She definitely couldn't give it to that Yun Yun. There is a saying, marriage is the tomb of love, but it is better to be buried in the ground than to be left in the street. But the premise was that the tomb was built on love. Then what would a loveless marriage be like? Buried alive? Even if she had to bury him alive, she would drag him down with her. After a long time, they would eventually form a grave. Even if we don't help each other in times of need, we can still treat each other with respect. I will do my part as Mrs. Jiang. When I walk out of the house, I will definitely be dignified, reserved, generous, and decent. Turning her head, she saw that Jiang Zhao was still silent. His edges were exceptionally cold and hard. Yi Er felt a tug in her heart. He really hated her. She gave in and said, "You have someone you like. As long as I don't find out, I won't say anything. You can just date secretly." She had already given in, so it should be enough, right? Yi Er rolled down the car window, wanting the wind to quickly blow away the steam in her eyes. It turned out that compromising for the sake of the general interest was uncomfortable, like being repeatedly pulled. Yi Er thought that it was an emergency dodge and firmly grabbed the handle of the car roof. However, when the car stopped by the roadside, Jiang Zhao turned around and reached out to grab her chin. He stared at her intently. His fierce expression scared Yi Er so much that she didn't dare to speak. She only felt that all the cells in her body were trembling. The cruel feeling of being raped by him last time came back again. The man's gaze was fierce. He wanted to kill this woman on the spot. Today, at the foot of the mountain, if he hadn't reacted quickly and acknowledged her, his father would have definitely pointed the spearhead at her. How would she live in the future? This might even be considered a light punishment. She might not even know how she disappeared. He couldn't bear it and messed up his life. Did he hear wrongly? She wanted to marry him, but she wanted him to have an affair with another woman? What right do you have? What right do you have to ask me to date the person I like secretly? Who do you think you are? What right do you have to ask me? Based on the fact that there are no feelings between us? Based on the fact that I don't love you? Based on the fact that you used despicable means to make me marry you? Tell me, which part of this gives you the right to control whether I'm with the person I like openly or secretly? Yi Er's tears suddenly gushed out uncontrollably. Her lips were slightly parted, but she was trembling at the fastest speed. The cold liquid flowed down her cheeks and dripped onto the man's hand. Fine, fine, fine. I don't care about you. I don't have the right or the right. You can do whatever you want. After we get married, we'll mind our own business. Okay? Let go. You're hurting me. It hurts so much. It hurts so much. It hurts so much. In the end, Yi Er began to wail unbridled. However, she kept repeating that it hurts so much. However, the pain did not come from the cracking of her jaw. Instead, it came from the blunt pain in her heart, as if it had been split open. Jiang Zhao felt that he was too irrational. How could he be like this? He was stirred up by a woman to this extent. It was as if the sky had turned gray. It was fine that he married a woman who didn't love him, but this woman was already pushing him into the arms of another woman before the marriage was even consummated. Was he going to quarrel and divorce like his parents after marriage? He shouldn't have such a life. It shouldn't be like this. He turned around expressionlessly and ordered himself to stay calm while leaning on the steering wheel. After sending Yi Er back to her old neighborhood, he called Jiang Rui. The music in the jazz bar was not so noisy. It was the best place to chat. The three men's glasses collided and made a clear and ethereal sound. Jiang Zhao didn't look like he was in the car just now. He looked refreshed again. Qin Fian raised his glass and said, "Brother, congratulations. You're going to be her husband. You'll have another identity." Jiang Zhao raised his glass and drank it up. Are you jealous? Are you going to be her husband or her wife in the future? Qin Fian shook his neck naughtily. This is a secret. My feelings are not mainstream, so it's inconvenient for me to share it. Haha. Jiang Rui poured another glass of wine for Jiang Zhao. What if this thing ruins your future? I heard that it's quite tricky. Jiang Zhao laughed. If it's ruined, I'll start to do business seriously and go back to Jiangzhou. Jiang Rui raised his hand to stop him. Don't go back to Jiangzhou to compete with me for business. I've been tricked by you since I was a child. I'm still living in the shadow of my childhood. But if you want to go back to Jiangzhou to be the mayor, I'll welcome you with open arms. Qin Fian looked at Jiang Rui and said discontentedly, Brother, don't poach people like this. 2 years ago, you wanted to trick my brother into going to Jiangzhou. Fortunately, Grandpa was wise and only asked him to jump aboard. Qin Fian's tone sounded like a joke, but he really thought so. He was not willing to let Jiang Zhao go back to Jiangzhou. The elders of the Jiang and Qin families always argued about this. Jiang Zhao's ability and means were fast and steady. No one was willing to let him go. He always said to Jiang Zhao, "Brother, I'm so jealous of your company's speed of making money. It's like money laundering. People with resources are indeed different. They're more powerful than those noble families." Everyone thought that Jiang Zhao was just a mayor and that his aunt Qin Jin's business was very powerful. The two companies under his aunt's name that belonged to Jiang Zhao were the real money grubbers. Even Grandpa said, "The Qin family has been the first in Haicheng for so many years. Without your uncle and brother, it's impossible." Therefore, when Grandpa was looking for a husband for Feiyu, who was only 17 years old, he considered a non-political family. Jiang Zhao smiled but didn't say anything. Go back to Jiangzhou? Grandpa was happy. Later, Grandpa would have a heart attack again. His stomach would have to be cut again and he would faint every 2 or 3 days. Jiang Rui said, "I'm just afraid that he will cause trouble in Haicheng. Don't worry about going back to Jiangzhou. I will definitely settle it for him. But a strong dragon can't suppress a local snake. In Haicheng, my resources can't be used." Qin Fian said confidently, "If the Qin family can't solve such a small matter for my brother to marry a wife, then we really don't have the face to establish ourselves in Haicheng. What's more, my uncle is not someone to be trifled with." Jiang Zhao held the wine glass and shook it gently. "This matter is not so troublesome. We already have some clues about the Yun family's matter. It will be solved as soon as possible. You don't have to be so frightened." Qin Fian pushed the frame of the glasses on the bridge of his nose, picked up the glass in front of him and clinked it with Jiang Zhao. "I knew it. You never do things that you are not sure of." Jiang Zhao nodded and poured another large glass of wine into his stomach. Today, he was going to get drunk and didn't care about anything else. Jiang Zhao didn't go back to the apartment in the north of the city at night. Instead, he asked the designated driver to drive him directly to Yi Er's residence. He had sent her downstairs many times, but he still carried her upstairs that time. The community was very old. The traffic here was convenient, but he always felt that it was not very safe. The lights in the corridor were not all on. He originally said that he would buy her a new house today. When going upstairs, he had to stomp his feet or cough fiercely to make the sensor light turn on. It was dark orange and the bulb was covered with a thick layer of dust. When he walked to the 6th floor and looked at the door, he felt that his heart was not at ease at all. He drank a little too much at night. When he knocked on the door, he just knocked and didn't care if he disturbed the neighbors at all. Yi Er put on her slippers in a hurry and stood at the door. Because there was no peephole, she didn't dare to open the door casually. She asked, "Who is it?" Jiang Zhao kicked the door panel and continued to knock on the door. His voice was vague with impatience, but his voice was very loud. "Who is it? Who else could it be other than your husband? If you don't open the door for your husband, I'll tear it down for you. Do you believe me?" With that said, he kicked the door again. Yi Er burst into laughter and pulled the door open. Jiang Zhao fell straight in. She was so tired from the man's weight that she couldn't stand. He said, "Ah Zhao, wait a moment. I'll close the door first." Jiang Zhao didn't let Yi Er close the door. His legs were very long. With a back kick, he kicked the door shut heavily. Although Yi Er's house was old, it was very clean and tidy. She helped Jiang Zhao to a simple fabric sofa. Yi Er originally wanted to let him lie down for a while and then help him wash his face. In the end, the sofa was too small. With his height, there was no way he could lie down. He looked ugly sitting there with his long arms and legs. Quickly come and see, Hongcha 866. Chapter 487. Yi Er had never seen Jiang Zhao so drunk before. In the past, no matter how late he was at social gatherings, he would never look so drunk. It seemed like he didn't have to care about his image when drinking with his brother today. Was he very relaxed? At this moment, Jiang Zhao lost his temper. He tugged at his collar and stood up with a stomp of his foot. With a childishness that he had never shown before, he made an unreasonable fuss. Yun. When your husband comes home, you throw him on a small stool like this? Don't you know that a wife should be virtuous? Don't you know that the wife is the leader of the husband? Go. Get me some water. I want to drink water. Yi Er didn't know whether to laugh or cry when she saw his tall and burly figure acting so shamelessly. She was laughing when the man stretched out his long arm and grabbed the woman under his arm and dragged her into the bedroom. Hey, hey, hey. Yi Er was uncomfortable from being sandwiched and almost left the ground. She was afraid that the man would lose his balance after drinking and fall, so she struggled anxiously. Jiang Zhao sensed that this kind of struggle wasn't comfortable at all. He only drank a little and she laughed at him. He didn't even want to do anything now. He just didn't want to sit on that small sofa, but she was already rejecting him. Was the contrast between before and after so big? He knew that her ambition wasn't just to ask him to help her solve her brother's problem. But he never knew that she was in such a hurry. As long as she became his woman openly, she wouldn't have to pretend to be a little white rabbit anymore, right? When he thought of this, the alcohol in his body seemed to have evaporated completely. How did he fall for this silly girl? When he thought of how flustered he was when he misunderstood her car accident, he hated himself for being like this. He hated the woman in front of him even more for using such a method to test his inner feelings. He bent down and pressed down on the woman's body and started to tear off her clothes. What? Now that you've achieved your goal, you don't want to fulfill your obligations anymore? Even if I have to be intimate with my lover, I want to do it with you. When we're in bed, you can't reject me. Don't you know that you have to pay a price for some things? Yi Er's heart sank, sinking. Just as it was about to sink to the bottom, she grabbed the man's shirt and pulled herself up. She was starting to regret it. How did things turn out like this? A few days ago, when they were together, even though he was greedy for her body, he had to pretend to be kind on the surface. When he was with her, there were many times when she could feel that he was still full of desire, but he would also take her feelings into consideration. He would give them something that they liked. Recently, he was not as solemn as before. Occasionally, when he handed her a gift, he would say, "Actually, I don't really know how to choose these things. It's hard to grasp a girl's thoughts. Next time, take a card from my drawer and swipe it. Pick something you like." She felt that there were many styles that did not suit her age, but she always felt that the girl he liked should be like that. She should be proper and wear proper clothes. She should never reveal her small waist or her faintly discernible bosom. Therefore, she always abandoned her 19-year-old body and said that she liked it very much. How did he fall from heaven to hell all of a sudden? Their relationship had just taken a turn for the better. How did she end up like this? She gripped his collar so tightly that her hands turned white. "Ah, Zhao, since we're getting married, can't we have a better attitude? I'll do my part. I'll be like before and not cause trouble for you, okay? Isn't it good to live a peaceful life?" When the clothes on her body were torn, it would also pull at her muscles and skin. When the strength was used to tear the clothes, it also transmitted all of his hatred to her body. How long had they been together? She had never seen hatred in his eyes. Even when it was the first time, he was taking revenge on her. Revenge with a desire to conquer her. Now, it was so obvious that he hated her. He hated her. Yi Er started to fail again. For the first time in her life, she cried twice in one night because of a man. And every time she cried, her heart hurt as though it was being pierced by nails. But the more she cried, the more he resisted his body's reaction. He patiently teased her until he was satisfied when he saw Yi Er trembling slightly. Then he gritted his teeth and said hoarsely, "See, this isn't just about duty. Actually, you also want to. Jiang Zhao felt that Yi Er kept crying because she rejected him. Why? Did she suddenly feel that her bitter days were over and that she didn't need to be intimate with him anymore? What kind of dream was she having? She had no feelings for him and didn't love him. If they were in bed. If he couldn't even take care of her, how could he? What are you trying to do? Let's play something more exciting, okay? Yi Er's intuition told her that this man was going to play something big today. No. I'm a traditional and conservative woman. The man laughed and said, as a young person of the new era, you have to have innovative ideas all the time, don't you think? Yi Er realized that Jiang Zhao was adjusting the position for her and shouted, no, 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 I like to stick to the rules. Yin Yi, are you going to float up into the sky again? Ah Zhao, call me hubby, don't you know? Jiang Zhao took a shower and returned to the bed. He covered himself with a thin blanket and looked at the cartoon bedsheets on his body. He nudged Yi Er, who was already exhausted, and said, you used this set of bedding for those sexy photos you took last time, right? Yi Er turned over. She was suddenly happy that Jiang Zhao was willing to talk to her in such a tone. She took the opportunity to lie on his abdomen. There was a set of abs there and it felt very comfortable to touch. You still remember? Jiang Zhao reached out and took the cell phone that was beside the pillow. He then pulled Yi Er closer into his arms and said, let me show you. He went online, opened his email, and downloaded the photos. He opened them one by one for her to see. This set, right? Yeah. Yi Er swiped her finger across the screen of the cell phone. Those photos that she had deleted a long time ago were all in his email. She couldn't explain what she was feeling. Actually, it was good to keep them. These were all memories. You didn't delete them? Jiang Zhao laughed and said, I forgot. TSK, I told you that you're a little fox. Look at how you're lying on top of me. You're a vixen. Yi Er looked at Jiang Zhao's warm smile. It was pretty good. Why was she so stupid? She clearly knew what kind of woman he liked, yet she still argued with him and made him lose his temper. If she had gone along with him like before, he would still treat her well. Didn't manager Wang say that it was too extravagant to be in a relationship with a man? The more you care about it, the more you lose. Because of the sudden change in Jiang Zhao's attitude, Yi Er slept very well that night. In the morning, Lu Qing sent Jiang Zhao's clothes over. She changed into them and went to work. Jiang Zhao told her to look for a house and buy a well-renovated one. Someone was living in the apartment in the north of the city, so it couldn't be used as a wedding home. In the future, she couldn't work at Peerless Beauty. She had to look for a profession she liked and then go to school. Yi Er didn't ask any more. She had already agreed that he could interact with the people from the old Qing dynasty. Since he wanted to raise a canary in the apartment in the north of the city, she was in no position to interfere. Someone once said that if you don't want a man to cheat, you have to squeeze him to death in bed. He wouldn't have the energy to do it outside. So when she woke up in the morning, she seduced him again. She seduced him once. And seduced him again. It was a success. Yi Er went out and prepared to look at the real estate that Jiang Zhao mentioned. Marriage depended on business. Perhaps Jiang Zhao would slowly realize that she actually had some good points. Although she did approach him with ulterior motives in the beginning, now, other than ulterior motives, she really wanted to spend the rest of her life with him. He let her decide on the house, which meant that he didn't completely disregard her. She walked downstairs in her high heels and called Xia Qian. Qian, yesterday's matter went very smoothly. Thank you. I'll treat you to wedding candy. Xia Qian's tail was wagging. Yi Er, you're treating your friend like an outsider. We're doing this for the sake of our next generation to have a good life. I won't say thank you, haha. What do you mean by our next generation? Who's going to have a next generation with you? You're so annoying. Yi Er hung up the phone and stood in the neighborhood waiting for a taxi. It was already past rush hour and there weren't many people on the road, but it was still difficult to get a taxi. Suddenly, a woman behind her called her name. Yin Yi, It was Tseng Tingting. When she saw Yi turn around, she couldn't help but explode. She actually only found out in the middle of the night that the Jiang and Qin families were already preparing for Jiang Zhao's wedding. Actually, if this matter was reported by the media, many people in Haiqing would definitely know about it. However, there were people in the military who pressured the mainstream media to withdraw their prepared drafts. But this matter couldn't be kept under wraps. They could only get the wedding done before it blew up. Tseng Tingting never imagined that the mantis stalking the cicada would be unaware of the oriole behind it. Yi wasn't familiar with Tseng Tingting. All she knew was that she was the daughter of the provincial party secretary. Just as she was wondering how Tseng Tingting knew her, Tseng Tingting raised her hand. Yi reacted quickly. If she was slapped in the face in public, wouldn't she be embarrassing Jiang Zhao? She reached out and grabbed Tseng Tingting's hand that was about to fly towards her face. Tseng Tingting wrestled with her hand and shouted to the side, "Hurry up and come over here. Splash it on this shameless person's face." When Yi heard the word splash, she was shocked. She saw two burly men coming over from both sides. Each of them was holding a bottle in their hands as they strode towards her. She felt deeply uneasy and thought to herself, "This is bad." Yi was tall to begin with. Now that she was wearing high heels, she was even taller than Tseng Tingting. This made her too big of a target. Luckily, she was a lazy person. She tiptoed and kicked the shoes away. She stood firmly on her bare feet and used all her strength to pull Tseng Tingting's hand to her chest. She firmly held her in front of her as a hostage. She shouted at the two burly men who were already unscrewing the bottle caps at her, "It's broad daylight. I don't care what you want to splash. With the daughter of the provincial party secretary accompanying me, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. You better hurry up. If someone sees you, you won't be able to escape." The two burly men who were holding the bottles looked well-mannered. They weren't scared off by Yi but they didn't dare to splash the liquid in their hands. Tseng Tingting wanted to break free, but Yi's survival instincts made it impossible for Tseng Tingting to break free. "Tseng Tingting, if you move around, you'll probably take up a larger portion of the water that they threw at us. You be *tch. You're so despicable. How dare you use such a method to force Jiang Zhao to marry you?" Yi sighed in relief. So it was because of Jiang Zhao. She thought she was running around everywhere to help her father and was being threatened. But it turned out she wasn't. This made things much simpler. "Oh, which one of his mistresses are you?" Tseng Tingting was confused. "Mistress? What did you say? You don't even know this? Then you're definitely not his big mistress. You must be his little mistress. His big mistress is still waiting for me to take over." Tseng Tingting seemed to have a tacit understanding with Yi She casually said, "You mean Ouyang Yan?" Attention, Xinwu 799. Chapter 488. When Yi heard the name Ouyang Yan, he suddenly thought of the name Yan Yan that Jiang Zhao mentioned. However, his eyes were still vigilantly looking at the two burly men holding the unknown liquid in their hands. When he spoke into Tseng Tingting's ear, he was not flustered at all. Instead, there was a cunning and confident arc, "Shouldn't you ask them to leave? The traffic here was good." Although it was already past the rush hour, the traffic was still good. If the news that the virtuous daughter of the provincial party committee's secretary poured sulfuric acid on the street spread, it wouldn't be good, right? Tseng Tingting did do that because she was so angry. She never thought that the man she had coveted for so many years would suddenly be taken care of by a woman who appeared out of nowhere. She thought that at most, it was just an Ouyang Yan. There was nothing special about it. So what if they were childhood sweethearts? She and Jiang Zhao were also childhood sweethearts. So what if they were innocent? With Jiang Zhao, she could guess whatever she wanted. It was fine that the person who married Jiang Zhao was an Ouyang Yan. No matter how unhappy she was, she could still balance it out. After all, everyone knew that Jiang Zhao loved Ouyang Yan very much at that time. She had even been imitating Ouyang Yan. Anyway, Jiang Zhao liked her like that. She was especially dignified outside. However, no matter how she imitated Ouyang Yan, Jiang Zhao did not buy her account. Now, the person who came out of nowhere was not the Cheng Yao Jin she thought. The person who came out of nowhere was actually a sinister Cao Cao who had transmigrated to the Tang dynasty. How old was Yun Yi? 19, she was younger than her by 2 years. How could she do such a shameless and sinister thing? Even if she coveted Jiang Zhao, she would still pester him. However, she would not lose face to this extent. Tsing Tingting asked the man with the liquid bottle to leave. Yi Er was still very alert to the changes in the surroundings. She was afraid that the other party would come back and attack. Tsing Tingting, you usually have a good reputation outside. Don't go all out and harm your father. Tsing Tingting thought about it and agreed, but she still wanted to know about Jiang Zhao's big lover. She said indifferently, who hasn't been young and impulsive? Yi Er was quick-witted. When she saw a taxi, she let go of Tsing Tingting, put on her shoes, and ran to stop it. She didn't forget to answer Tsing Tingting as she ran, I'm younger than you, but I don't dare to say such things. Next time, be careful. I have a task that my husband assigned me to complete. If you want to chat with me, call my husband's cell phone. When Tsing Tingting heard what Yi Er said, she was confused. What? This woman with the surname Yun clearly knew that she was going to steal her husband, yet she still asked her to call Jiang Zhao to chat with her? Was he crazy? Was his brain flooded with water? She stomped her feet and chased after him. Hey! Don't go. Yi Er closed the car door and told the driver to leave quickly. If I listen to you, my brain must be flooded with water. Yi Er looked at the houses. After a while, Jiang Zhao received a multimedia message. It was a model of the neighborhood, a floor plan of the house, and a photo of the model house. After he looked at it, he replied, which one do you like? Yi Er said, a room for Si Jia will be fine. Jiang Zhao said, go to 9th mansion. The house in the sky has floor heating and constant temperature. Jiang Zhao felt that in this way, his living space would be bigger and he could live upstairs and downstairs. Otherwise, it would be a little depressing to have another child living in the house. With floor heating, she liked to run around the house barefoot. It wouldn't be cold in the winter. Isn't it expensive? Your husband's money is more than enough to buy the entire 9th mansion. Go. Yi Er replied, okay. She then set off for the 9th mansion, thinking that she had accidentally found herself a rich and overbearing husband. She had to keep a close eye on him. She had to remind herself that her husband liked obedient maids and obedient Yi Er. Looking at houses was a tiring job. Yi Er didn't have experience in this area, but she was afraid that Jiang Zhao would say that she was stupid. Basically, while looking at the houses, she searched for things to take note of on Google. If it wasn't the direction, then it was the type of house. She had been to the Qin family before. With one look at that kind of house, she knew that feng shui was very important. Therefore, she paid attention to the location of the living room and the bathroom. She often asked direct and straightforward questions. She even used feng shui professional terms. After looking at 2 more houses, Miss didn't dare to fool her anymore. When she reached home at 4 p.m., her legs were so stiff that she couldn't walk. Jiang Zhao's car was parked there. It was very eye-catching. He opened the car door and got in. Seeing Yi Er pounding her legs with her little fists the moment she sat down, Jiang Zhao asked, are you tired today? Yes, a little. It's not very tiring. I think the house today should be good. There's a big lounge on the 2nd floor. I plan to renovate it and turn it into a gym. This way, we can exercise together. Is that okay? The man bent over sideways. His large hand caressed the woman's calf. It was warm and very comfortable. He slowly and forcefully massaged her calf. We're going to exercise together and go to the gym? What position do you want to use? Do you have such a strong taste? Yi Er's face was bitter. If this man wasn't so cheap, he would be even cuter. So annoying. So embarrassing. Let's go to the Qin residence for dinner. After dinner, we'll come back. Actually, he had called her in the afternoon to inform her. He called her phone, but it was probably out of battery. He couldn't get through. You're staying at my place tonight. Aren't you going back to the north of the city? Are you chasing me away? He had been good to her for less than 20 years. Was she itching for a beating again? Didn't he want to spend the rest of his life with her? He clearly knew that there was a woman living in the north of the city. Why was she asking him to go there? Yi Er saw that Jiang Zhao's expression was ugly. She waved her hand. No. Fortunately, I washed your clothes today. You'll have a change of clothes tomorrow. Jiang Zhao's heart relaxed. You don't have to worry about the clothes. I brought some over. Tomorrow is Grandpa's birthday. We have to go early in the morning to get the marriage certificate. Moreover, today is the engagement banquet. The Jiang family doesn't have such a rule. As long as it's the wedding, it'll be fine. However, Grandpa disagrees and insisted on holding it. Although it's rushed, everything is taken care of. Moreover, the guests tonight are all relatives and respected elders. We can't be careless. Coincidentally, it's Grandpa's birthday today. A large portion of them arrived in Sea City yesterday, so it's also complete. So soon? Yi Er exclaimed. This was too unbelievable. They were actually getting engaged today. Only then did she notice that Jiang Zhao's suit was not the one he wore this morning. His tie was also a bright pink. This young man was so handsome. Don't you want it to be faster? No. The faster the better. A long delay was fraught with problems. Several female supporting characters wanted to get rid of her as the female lead and climb to the top. She couldn't let her guard down. It was said that women in the new era had to be in the hall and kitchen, kill wooden horses and climb over walls, drive a good car and buy a good house, and fight against mistresses and hooligans. She had no problems in the hall and kitchen. She had a good car and a good house, and she had a husband. Although Jiang Zhao had helped her when she was fighting against hooligans, now that she thought about it, this was called husband and wife of one heart. Their strength could cut through metal, right? However, she couldn't ignore fighting against mistresses. She had to treat it seriously. If she failed, everything before could be overturned. Jiang Zhao brought Yi Er to change into the gown. He didn't expect that they were going to Qiu Xiaoya's custom-made shop. Qiu Xiaoya looked at Yi Er with an ambiguous expression. When she saw Jiang Zhao, she turned around and went outside to answer a call. She went over and bumped into Yi Er's butt. Hello, it's settled? It's settled. We'll register our marriage tomorrow and have the engagement party tonight. Speaking of the engagement party, she didn't even invite her friends. Forget it. She would invite them at the wedding another day. Yi Er, you have to give Qian Qian and I a big red packet. We are the ones who contributed the most. You guys just helped because you don't have balls. Don't try to blackmail me. She was so arrogant. I don't have balls. At most, I have nothing to do. If your balls hurt, ask your husband to rub them for you tonight. Oh, you've improved in just a few days. You even dare to say such small things? Did the mayor teach you? You taught me. While the two of them were talking, Qiu Xiaoya had already picked out Yi Er's gown. Your husband called me this afternoon to tell me about the details. I helped you choose this gown. It has to be dignified. There are many old people who are very conservative. It's best if it's an old-fashioned style. It has to be red, not pink, green or other colors. This is the rule over there. The first wife has to wear red. Yi Er thought to herself. First wife? He still wants to marry a second wife in the future? How dare he? When she came out of the fitting room, Jiang Zhao happened to come back. Yi Er's hair was still down and she was wearing a modified cheongsam with 2 layers. She wore a bright red tube top dress on the inside and a cheongsam with peony embroidery on the outside. This way, the bright red color softened a little, making it more suitable for Yi Er. Peony's elegance and luxury was not suitable for a girl of Yi Er's age. But this layer of fabric made her look more playful. Jiang Zhao reached out and held Yi Er's hair in his hand. He pulled it up and fixed it behind her head. He leaned back and looked at her neck and the curve of her jaw. She was so beautiful. This was how it should be. He tilted his head and said to Xiaoya, get someone to help her tie her hair up. After tying her hair into a bun, putting on earrings, and putting on powder and makeup, she looked 3 to 4 years older. Yi Er looked at herself in the mirror. This was good. If she looked too young, people would think that Jiang Zhao was not mature enough. Jiang Zhao stretched out his hand and lifted the collar of Yi Er's cheongsam. His slender knuckles rested on her neck, his fingertips stroking the intricate but bright embroidery on the collar. A warm smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Yi Er thought that he was going to say something touching, but the man raised his hand and flicked her forehead. Little hussy, you've really grown up. You're becoming more and more pleasing to the eye. The woman shrank back from the pain and looked at the man who turned around to leave gracefully after committing the crime. She stomped her feet angrily. Couldn't that be *** change his tone? How infuriating. In the car, Yi Er called Zhengling and told her about her wedding. But it was not convenient to invite her friends today. Everyone was from her family, and it was equivalent to meeting her elders. Zhengling answered the phone and was overjoyed. She could not blame Yi Er for not telling her beforehand. Mrs. Zheng's ear was pressed against Zhengling's phone, and she was very excited. Later, she wanted to snatch the phone and say a few words to Yi Er. Zhengling hurriedly said a few words and hung up the phone. He glared at Mrs. Zheng. What? Zhengling's mother laughed. Yi Er is about to get married. We should buy a gift for her. Let's go to a jewelry shop and buy a solid piece of gold. We can even spend about 100,000 renminbi on it. Zhengling looked at her mother with disdain. Mum, you are so generous. Don't tell me she is marrying Mayor Jiang. Zhengling's mother poked Zhengling's forehead. You are so vulgar. Yi Er is your benefactor. If she did not give you money to open a photography studio, you will not be able to buy a car and a house. Zhengling actually hated to continue this topic in her heart. If her mother hadn't deliberately said such unpleasant words in front of Yi Er wouldn't have come to find her later on. Beauty novel, Hongcha 866. Chapter 489. For example, she had no idea what had happened during this wedding. It was completely different from the past. Yi Er would no longer share her hardships. Although she knew that Yi Er was afraid that she would be put in a difficult position, she still felt sad. Oh, Mom, what does this have to do with Yi Er? That's what you earned by scrimping and saving and cooking for my employees. Don't let Yi Er take all of it. She can't afford it. I'm going home. Zhengling turned around and left the office after saying that. Mother Zheng saw that Zhengling ignored her and scolded angrily, You wretched girl. You're getting more and more stubborn. When Yi Er arrived at the Qin family home, she thought that she had come to the wrong place. It was as if she had traveled back in time to a wealthy family in the Republic of China. The front door was tied with red silk and the hallways and main roads were all hung with red lanterns. Jiang Zhao held her hand. Don't be nervous. I'm here. Yi Er nodded and followed the man's footsteps. She lifted her chin and smiled. She greeted everyone politely. Although she did not speak much, she had the bearing of a lady from a wealthy family. In the living room, carved wooden chairs were neatly placed. None of the respectable elders sat on the sofa. They were all sitting on the hard wooden chairs, which made the young people sitting on the soft sofa look weak. None of the elders wore suits. Some had silver beards and some had white hair. They were all wearing Chinese-style clothes with buttons. At the very least, they were wearing Chinese tunic suits. Their expressions were different, but they all exuded a dignified aura. None of the young women were dressed too extravagantly. They all looked like reserved ladies from wealthy families. After Jiang Zhao's introduction, Yi Er bowed and greeted the elders one by one. The Qin family was a wealthy family. They had their own dining area for the banquet, which was not in the living room in the front yard. Today's engagement party was rushed, but it was not sloppy at all. The chefs hired by the government were all present. The decorations were also done by several wedding companies within a few hours. This might be the soft power that a big family should have. No matter how urgent the matter was, it could be prepared very quickly. There were even more people today than yesterday. Yi Er was completely dumbfounded by the number of people who came. She couldn't even remember their names. She laughed until her mouth was sore. In the end, she only remembered a few surnames. Yi Er had originally chosen a pair of high-heeled shoes, but Jiang Zhao helped her change into a pair of small high-heeled shoes. He said that she would be very tired at night and might have to stand again tomorrow. Only then did she realize that it was indeed very tiring. She had never sat down on a stool before. She was already starving. She hadn't even finished toasting, and the walls of her intestines were probably glued together by the table after table. Watching others eat, Yi Er had the urge to swallow his saliva. After a round of toasts, he said that he wanted to pay his respects to the elders alone. Because many people didn't come to see City for many years, they didn't have to wait until morning to pay their respects. Heavens, what kind of rule is this? Is this the old-fashioned society? No one had taught her the rules of paying respects. The Yun family was a nouveau riche, and she was the daughter of a nouveau riche. She didn't need to pay respects. Jiang Zhao told the two old men to bring Yi Er to his room and tell her the details of paying respects. She didn't understand. The two old men nodded in agreement and asked them to go quickly. The moment they returned to Jiang Zhao's room, Yi Er collapsed on the sofa. Jiang Zhao went out again. Yi Er pursed her lips bitterly and rubbed her stomach. So pitiful, so pitiful. As the daughter-in-law of a rich family, she had no food to eat. So pitiful. As the daughter of a rich family, she had rice and face. Only then would she be happy. A few minutes later, Jiang Zhao entered the room in his suit. He took a bowl and closed the door behind him. He walked in front of her and pulled up his trousers. He slowly squatted down and helped Yi Er up. Eat some first. I saw that you were about to faint from hunger outside. Don't starve yourself until you have gastric problems. Rice with abalone juice. Yi Er was moved to tears. Hubby, you're so nice. You even know to put some rice inside. Jiang Zhao looked at Yi Er taking big bites and was amused. Slow down. I'm not going to snatch it from you. Yi Er hurriedly hid the bowl behind her back and snorted. Even if you snatch it from me, I won't give it to you. It's mine. Jiang Zhao reached out and pinched Yi Er's face. Okay. It's yours. It's yours. Yi Er picked up the spoon and scooped the rice into her mouth. She wanted to say something but was afraid that she would look bad. She reached out and covered her mouth. Her eyes were curved as she mumbled, "It's delicious. It's really delicious." As she ate, she thought that as long as she was obedient, Jiang Zhao would treat her quite well. Although he didn't love her, he would still treat her like before. He wouldn't make her suffer. He didn't make her drink water to make up for her hunger. He would also think of ways to make the rice taste good. He didn't feel like he was making do with her at all. As Yi Er ate, Jiang Zhao told her that she didn't even have to kneel to greet them anymore. She just had to say some auspicious words to the elders in the family and appear more obedient. That was about it. The more Jiang Zhao whispered to Yi Er, the more Yi Er felt that she was one step closer to being unable to extricate herself. This was because no matter how she looked at Jiang Zhao, he was a good man. He actually knew how to dote on people. However, she was too much of a bastard and too eager for instant success. She didn't wait for him to fall in love with her before forcing him to marry her. Yi Er clenched her fists in her heart. Yin Yi, you can do it. This man is yours. This husband is yours. She extended the bowl in front of Jiang Zhao. Hubby, I want to eat another bowl. Jiang Zhao turned around and pulled a piece of tissue from the tea machine to wipe Yi Er's mouth. You can't eat anymore. You still have to have night tea with the female guests later. If you don't eat at all, they will think that you don't know how to treat guests well. Yi Er was in despair. Oh my God. There were so many rules that she had never heard of. Which ancestor set them? Jiang Zhao looked at Yi Er's expression and took the bowl from her hand. He placed it on the tea machine and sat down beside her. He pulled out a piece of tissue paper and placed her hand in his. He helped her wipe her hand. Bear with it. Just these 2 days. It'll be fine after a while. Actually, Grandpa wanted to arrange the wedding, but Grandpa vetoed the idea. Compared to the Jiang family, the Qin family had more rules. However, these rules were not usually used. It was because they were valued that there were so many rules and extravagance. Although I am only his grandson, Grandpa has always treated me as a member of the Qin family. Yi Er felt guilty. She felt that she didn't know how to behave properly. The family valued her so much and didn't say that everything should be simple. Yet, she was still nitpicking. She was too insensible. She leaned on Jiang Zhao's shoulder and held his arm. She acted coquettishly. I didn't say that I didn't want to go. Hubby, I just thought that the rice you made for me just now was very delicious. After I have night tea with the female guests, can you make me another bowl? Yes, I'll make you a big bowl. You're annoying. I'm not a pig. I'll raise you like a pig in the future. You're annoying. Pigs eat terrible food. You'll be called a VIP pig in the future. I'll give you abalone wings every day. You're annoying. But you called me a little fox. Alright, fox pig. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Yi Er went to the restaurant again. The moment she entered, everyone could feel that she was glowing. She smiled at the guests and looked dignified. The butler, Uncle Wu, took the phone and walked to the main seat. He said to the Qin family's old master, Qin Rongfang, Old Master, it's Old Master Shi. Qin Rongfang said, hello. On the other end, Shi Jintian started to scold him. Old fart, you only told me now that you're getting a granddaughter-in-law. Are you in a hurry to be reincarnated? Qin Rongfang knew that many people would scold him, but he had no choice. He had said before that he would hold a grand wedding for all his grandchildren. When it came to Zhao Zhao, how could he not hold an engagement party before getting a marriage certificate? He would have a nod in his heart. His explanation to everyone was the same as what he had said to Shi Jintian. I'm not in a hurry to be reincarnated, but today is a good day. They say that if I, Zhao Zhao, hold a wedding today, I'll be very lucky. I believe in this, so I might as well do it today. Shi Jintian was not an unreasonable person. He knew that there were many things that were not convenient to say now, so he just vented his anger. My private jet is at the airport now and can't take off. You have to keep this granddaughter-in-law's tea for me. Qin Rongfang said readily, of course. I'll make them kneel down and apologize to you. Okay. I must sit in the main seat. Shi Jintian was still in the hotel. After hanging up the phone, he saw Unwu leaning against the big chair and reading a book. He complained, old Qin must have encountered some trouble. How can he be in such a hurry to get a granddaughter-in-law? When the fog disperses tomorrow, I must ask him properly when I get back. Unwu said indifferently, Grandpa, you're worrying too much. We don't have to worry about the Qin family's troubles. We're the ones who are unfamiliar with this place. We were friends in life and death when we were young. How can I not care? But Unwu, you have to get closer to Fian and Zhao Zhao in the future. I'm old, and the world belongs to you young people. We must have a place on the right path. I know, Grandpa, don't worry. Unwu said lightly and continued reading. Yi Er greeted her in a daze. Later, her neck and wrists were covered with gold, and she was so tired that she was about to die. Looking at the 10 or 20 golden bracelets on her wrists and the dozens of golden chains around her neck, Yi Er heaved a sigh of relief. As expected of the daughter of a nouveau riche. Look at her, she's too explosive. The Qin family looked like a large family, but the concept of men being superior to women was still very strong. It could be seen from the difference between male and female guests. No matter how old they were, men and women would not eat at the same table. Qin Jin told Yi Er that it was only in this kind of situation that it would be so obvious. Usually, her family did not care about such formalities. Sometimes, no matter how advanced a man's thinking was, he still cared about face. So in this kind of place, no matter how tired, hungry, or thirsty you were, you had to endure it. Otherwise, you would lose your family's man's face. Yi Er listened to Qin Jin's teachings and knew that they were kind words. If her mother-in-law really did not like her, she would not have said these things to her. She nodded obediently and said, "Mother, I understand." She did not dare to ask too much, afraid that if she asked something wrong, she would be laughed at. She wanted to ask Jiang Zhao if she could take some jewelry down first. These jewelry were too solid, and her neck was about to break. Even if she could not take it down, she could still complain to him. However, she did not see Jiang Zhao anywhere. Yi Er wanted to go outside the restaurant to take a look. As soon as she reached the entrance, she heard the servants discussing, young Master Zhao is about to get married. Even if he liked Miss from the family Ouyang, that is already in the past. Miss Yen should pay more attention. Who said that? Didn't you hear how Miss Yen cried in front of Master yesterday? She even said that Miss from the Yun family forced young Master Zhao to marry her. Women these days are really fierce. The new daughter-in-law is only 19 years old, but her thoughts are too deep. Yes, young Master Zhao has never met a woman like this. Add Songshu 566. Chapter 490. Young Master Zhao should find someone as dignified as Miss Yen. Young Master Fian, on the other hand, should find a woman to force himself on. Sigh, if it weren't for the fact that young Master Zhao would find out later, I really want to listen to what Miss Yen is saying in young Master Zhao's arms in the backyard. You wish. As a servant, you have to be more careful. Yi Er closed her eyes and clenched her fists to breathe. Her mother-in-law said that no matter how tired, hungry, or thirsty she was, she had to endure it. But her mother-in-law didn't say what she should do if her heart ached. She could fight against a mistress or a hooligan, she couldn't just let it go like this, right? She turned around and asked the servant for directions to the backyard. The flower rack in the left corner of the backyard was very tall and wide. It was a mix of wisteria and roses. At this time, the roses were blooming beautifully and the fragrance was faint. Under the flower rack, Jiang Zhao patted Ouyang Yan's back and comforted her. Yun Yun, don't cry. If you don't have anything to say, I'll go back first. Your sister-in-law is still young and the Qin family has more rules than the Yun family. She doesn't know anything and will cause trouble later. When Ouyang Yan heard Jiang Zhao directly change Yun Ye's name to sister-in-law, she cried even harder. She hugged the man's waist even tighter. Second brother, you said that you would wait for me to come back. You've always been waiting for me. Second brother, you're a man of your words. How can you marry another woman? I'm already back, how can you marry another woman? Ouyang Yan sobbed uncontrollably. She never knew that Jiang Zhao would go back on his words. She had been the moon surrounded by stars in her life. Everyone knew that Jiang Zhao liked her. Even when she broke up with him and wanted to leave High City, He said that he would wait for her. How did he become someone else's husband just like that? Jiang Zhao sighed. Just as he was about to speak, Yi Er's voice rang out. Hubby, Mom said that she wants us to send the guests off together. Let's go over together. Jiang Zhao suddenly pushed Ouyang Yan away, but he didn't know how strong he was. Ouyang Yan staggered back a few steps and held on to a pillar to steady himself. The man looked at Yi Er, who was standing at the entrance of the backyard. How long had it been since he last saw her? She was dressed in gold and was covered in gold chains. She looked tacky and cute at the same time. He strode towards her. Ouyang Yan bit her lips and watched the man leave, but she could not stop him. Yi Er watched as Jiang Zhao walked over. He was still so handsome and radiant, unlike her who was in such a sorry state. Slowly loosening her clenched fists, her eyes curved into crescents, and a bright smile hung on her face. She really couldn't pretend that she didn't see anything. She could only pretend that nothing had happened. Yi Er's smile was too genuine. In Jiang Zhao's eyes, it was jarring. This woman really didn't care about him. She had clearly seen it, but she could still smile so nonchalantly. He thought that no matter what, he should still explain the process of this matter to her. They were now husband and wife. Just as he walked to the door, Yi Er went forward and grabbed his arm. Without looking at Ouyang Yan, she pulled him and turned him around. She grumbled, "You don't know. When Mom said that she wanted to send the guests off, I was dizzy. She also said that some of the guests would be staying in the backyard tonight. I can only go to sleep after all these people are settled. But I'm so sleepy now. Also, I'm carrying so many things on me. It's killing me. It's so heavy. Can you take some of them off?" With every sentence that Yi Er said, she was thinking about the woman behind her. When she was joking, she felt as if her heart was being tugged at by someone. Jiang Zhao was completely dispirited. Once again, it proved the meaning of her words, "There are no feelings between us." Not only did she not need to explain, she would not even be jealous. Even if she saw that her husband had another person in his arms, she could still pretend that she didn't see anything. He couldn't help but wonder if she was heartless. But as arrogant as he was, she didn't even care about him. Should he still think that it was unrequited love and care about her feelings that she didn't need? With a wife like this, there was really nothing he could do. Who asked that phone call to see through his thoughts? You can't take them off. These are the blessings from the elders. It's inauspicious to take them off. Yi Er nodded. Oh. She would just be superstitious this time. Yi Er's superstition resulted in her wearing this pile of gold to sleep. Even after midnight, she refused to take them off. Jiang Zhao wanted to be intimate with her and wanted to take them off for her. Yi Er exploded. She stood on the bed and made a fighting pose. She glared at Jiang Zhao as if she was looking at a bandit. Mine, mine. They're all mine. Don't touch them. Jiang Zhao found Yi Er's behavior amusing. This wife was pretty good. Sometimes, she even made him quite happy. She was still young and probably didn't know what love was. Be good. Take them off. I'll give you a box of gold bars another day. No, I'm not taking them off. When Yi Er saw that Jiang Zhao was about to stand up, she knew that he was going to use force. She immediately sat down, stretched her legs, raised her head, and burst into tears. Wah! Jiang Zhao was dumbfounded. He quickly sat down and hugged the woman. All right. They're yours. Don't take them off, okay? Didn't I say that you'd be tired? These are all yours. Why are you so hateful, so bad? Why do you only know how to bully me? You're racking your brains to hurt me, sob. Yi Er was really sad. She was so sad that she kept twitching. This man clearly knew these taboos, yet he still did it. He definitely wanted to break up with her and marry that Yun. Jiang Zhao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This woman was really possessed. She was actually so superstitious. When had he ever thought of hurting her? He wanted to accuse her. It's already past midnight. It's fine. It won't be inauspicious anymore. Really? Yi immediately stopped crying, but Jiang Zhao laughed. Yin Yi, can you be a little more despicable? Can you act a little more realistically? If I act better, are you going to push me into the entertainment industry? Yi wiped the tears from her face. Then she pretended that she hadn't cried. As she spoke, she took off the bracelet and necklace. Dream on. Yi looked at the small mountain of gold in front of her and said happily, all right, then I won't dream on. Jiang Zhao hugged her and kissed her. All right, then let's take a shower and make love. But hubby, I'm so tired today. But wifey, I'm always the one doing the work. Early the next morning, Jiang Zhao took Yi to the Civil Affairs Bureau. The marriage certificate had to be obtained and no one could say anything about it. It wasn't troublesome at all. In fact, it was quite cheap. 2 red booklets cost $9 and a quick photo was $40. Yi was unhappy. Why is the photo so much more expensive than the marriage certificate? It's so many times more expensive. Jiang Zhao thought, did this woman have to ask such an idiotic question? It was obvious that she wanted to get some money out of it. The cost of the photo was regulated and there was no limit to the photo. Didn't she understand this? Because the photo can prove that it's your marriage certificate. If you just take out the name, people won't be able to tell if it's real or fake. But with the photo, it'll be obvious at a glance. Yi nodded and said with certainty, yes, this money is really well spent. It's really worth it. Jiang Zhao sighed in satisfaction. This girl. Nu and Shizhen finally returned to High City after 3:00 in the afternoon. Shizhen had been feeling unhappy. He had missed his old friend's granddaughter-in-law's engagement banquet, and today, he had almost missed his old friend's birthday banquet. What kind of lousy weather is this? Shizhen sat in the car and couldn't help but spit. Unwu leaned against the car door and looked out the window. The corners of his mouth turned up. Grandpa, actually, we could have taken the high-speed train yesterday. It would have only taken a few hours. Shizhen head seemed to have been pinched by someone. His face turned red and his voice rose in anger. Why didn't you say so earlier? Unwu shrugged nonchalantly. His clear eyes were unexpectedly smiling. I like to see you scold when you're angry. It's really interesting. It's more like the real you. Shizhen looked at his grandson's happy face and couldn't get angry even if he wanted to. You little brat. Unwu and Shizhen went back to the Shi residence first. They had to change into formal wear before going out. Unwu changed into a gentleman's shirt and suit. The lapel on his chest was an elegant purple. The navy blue suit made the originally quiet and beautiful boy look even more spirited. Unwu walked to the front garden to wait for his grandfather. He looked up at the sky. It seemed like it would rain in a few days. The clouds were a little dark. Shizhen had just walked to Yunwu's side when his phone rang. He picked up and it was Qin Rongfang's voice. Old man, when are you going to delay until? Are you going to wait a few days for them to return to Jiang District for the banquet? Shizhen said, I'm here. I'll rush over before you reincarnate. Unwu had never met so many old people. They were saying, old man, rushing to reincarnate, and cursing at each other with such inauspicious words, but they were not angry at all. Instead, they were so happy. Qin Rongfang said, hurry up, or my granddaughter-in-law won't offer you any tea. Old Jiang said you're not allowed to come. How dare he? I'll send you a picture of my grandson and granddaughter-in-law. They're a match made in heaven. Let me tell you, their children will definitely be the best looking. Qin Rongfang hung up after showing off. Just 10 seconds after hanging up, Shizhen received an MMS message. He opened it and saw the woman wearing a fashionable cheongsam. Her slender white arms were wrapped around the man's arm, and her head was leaning on the man's shoulder. She was smiling very sweetly. The handsome and tall man's large hand was wrapped around the woman's small hand that was wrapped around his arm. Her smile was charming. They're really a match made in heaven. Unwoo, look, you have to find a granddaughter-in-law for Grandpa in the future. She's so beautiful. I can't lose to old man Chin. Unwoo nodded perfunctorily. He glanced at it lightly and considered his task completed. Suddenly, a white light flashed in his mind. He snatched Shi Jintian's phone and enlarged the picture on the screen. The air in his ears stagnated, and there was the sound of falling leaves. He could not accept such a fact. He could not accept it. She had abandoned him and married someone else? No, it was an engagement. It was just an engagement. He could not let her marry Jiang Zhao. No. He had been waiting for her on Wudong Street for more than a year. It was all because she had broken into his world that he had become an artist for her for more than a year. How could she do this? Grandpa, what's her name? Perhaps there were people who looked so similar in this world. Moreover, the woman in the photo looked older than her and was much more beautiful. He had never seen her put on makeup, so this person shouldn't be her. Old Chin told me yesterday that her name is Yunyi. This name is really convenient. Shi Jintian laughed. Unwoo felt a little annoyed. He reached out to unbutton his suit and returned the phone to Shi Jintian. His voice was as soft as usual, but he seemed a little impatient. Grandpa, I want her. Beauty novel, Shinwoo 799. Chapter 491. Unwoo. Unwoo took off his shirt and held it in his hand. He raised his voice and said, "We're only engaged now. I want to take her away. She's mine, mine. She can only marry me." He never knew that the heart that had been swapped could still beat like that. It didn't seem to be his own. He never dared to have his own emotions because he had developed the habit of taking care of his heart. He couldn't change it. When they were together, he just felt that it was a good feeling. But he never thought that she would suddenly disappear. The past month had been torturous. He had thought that once he found her, he would definitely be with her and never allow her to leave again. But she was going to get married. Shi Jintian saw that his grandson was emotional and worried about his health. He quickly comforted him. Unwoo, there are many women in the world. This girl is beautiful, but there are many more beautiful than her. If you like her, Grandpa will arrange for the daughters of the wealthy families in Haicheng to meet you tomorrow. Whichever girl you like, Grandpa will propose marriage on your behalf, okay? Other than her, I don't want anyone else. Unwoo slammed the suit in his hand onto the ground and roared in anger. Shi Jintian could be ruthless to anyone but his grandson. He had always been very patient with Unwoo. Unwoo, Old Chin called this morning to say that they got their marriage certificate this morning and are officially husband and wife. You have been acting strangely recently. Is it related to this girl? Yunwoo's shoulders drooped as he looked at the clouds in the sky. He exhaled softly and slowly clenched his slender fingers. His eyes were cold as he said softly, "Grandpa, I killed 13 people with a gun when I was 9 years old. My bullets and darts have always been accurate. If she's married and can't get a divorce, then I'll use a silenced sniper rifle today and let her." And you paused for a moment and turned to look at Shi Jintian, whose face was already filled with shock. With a fierce gaze, he spat out 2 words one by one, "widowed." Shi Jintian used to be a mafia boss who had seen all kinds of unexpected situations. But when faced with such a situation, he was at a loss. 12 years ago, the Lei family was wiped out and Unwoo was shot. It wasn't easy for him to survive with a new heart. Ever since then, he had never said anything harsh to Unwoo and always went along with him. Unwoo was also very sensible and didn't cause any trouble. He was very cooperative with the doctors and tried his best not to burden the new heart and tried his best to minimize the possibility of rejection. Although Enyu had never gone to school outside and had only hired private tutors, he was still outstanding in every aspect. He didn't know that there would be a day when Enyu would suddenly become like this. Ever since Ague was beaten up that night, he had changed. Perhaps he had changed before. In his impression, Unwoo would never get angry at anyone, not to mention Sister Hua, who had always taken care of him, and Ague, who had always taken care of him. It turned out that Unwoo had a bottom line. Shi Jintian pulled Unwoo to sit on a white bench in the garden. At this moment, Shi Jintian's domineering aura was completely gone. All that was left was the care and concern of a grandfather to his grandson. Unwoo, it's normal for you to be attracted to some people. When Grandpa was young, he also met women who were attracted to him and whom he cared about. But the person he married was your grandmother. Unwoo didn't want to hear it, but he kept reminding himself not to be irritable. In order to let Unwoo adjust his temperament, Shi Jintian had read a lot of self-cultivation books and learned from Unwoo. So when he spoke seriously, it didn't seem like he was just a hooligan who had just finished primary school. There's no such thing as a must in this world. Young people like to say that someone is irreplaceable because someone who can be replaced hasn't appeared yet. Grandpa won't force you. Give yourself some time to go out and play and relax. In short, you can't touch this Yunyi. Grandpa, are you afraid of the Qin family or the Jiang family? Unwoo said lightly, but it was a rare provocation. Unwoo. Shi Jintian's expression became serious. When he saw the pain in Yunwoo's eyes, he sighed again and lowered his voice. Unwoo, Grandpa and old Qin and old Jiang are brothers. It's a precious friendship that can't be exchanged for a lifetime. This isn't fear, this is mutual respect. That's because there's no hatred between the two of you because you stole my wife. It's because of the brotherhood that there's no hatred between the two of you because you stole my wife. You can't play with a friend's wife. Do you understand? I don't understand, because Jiang Zhao and I aren't friends. Shi Jintian clenched his fists to calm himself down. He was about to rush forward at any time. How can you say that Jiang Zhao stole your woman? Does Jiang Zhao know that Yunyi is your woman? Is Yunyi really your woman? If she is, why did you let her become someone else's wife? You go out every night to look for her, right? Even without my help, isn't it easy for you to find someone in Haicheng? Why can't you find her? Because you don't know her at all. Shi Jintian's last sentence hit Yunwoo's sore spot. Yunwoo's arrogance fell, and he couldn't answer. Yes, he didn't know her at all. Other than her name, he knew nothing. He searched for her everywhere based on his memory of her appearance and the last conversation he had with her. It was like looking for a needle in a haystack. He didn't even tell her that he liked her and wanted to have her, because by the time he found out, she had already left. He lost her before he could have her. Unwoo asked the servant to bring him a suit again, tidied up his appearance, and got into the Qin family's car with Shi Jintian. And his trip was in exchange for Shi Jintian's repeated promises. He promised Shi Jintian that he wouldn't do anything that crossed the line. He had already thought it through. From tomorrow onwards, he would find a woman who was prettier than Yunyi to be his girlfriend. Then, he wouldn't let his imagination run wild. This way, Shi Jintian was relieved. Everyone liked good-looking things. It was fine as long as he found someone prettier than Yunyi. Other young masters had already started fooling around at the age of 17 or 18. Unwoo didn't have a female companion yet. He had wanted to mention it for a long time, but Unwoo had a dull personality, and he didn't want to affect his life too much. If Unwoo was willing to have a girlfriend, he would only be happy. Because of the prelude to the engagement party, the Qin family's birthday banquet was more lively than expected. Unwoo followed Shi Jintian into the Qin family's mansion. The Qin family's mansion could be said to be brightly lit these 2 days. Countless high-tile lights hung in the air, illuminating the entire Qin family's mansion as if it was daytime. Qin Rongfang and Old Master Jiang went up to welcome them together. When old friends met, they were especially affectionate. Unwoo stood beside Shi Jintian with a decent smile and politely greeted Qin Jintian and Old Master Jiang. After receiving a response, he stood up straight. Before Old Master Jiang could speak, Shi Jintian raised his hand to stop Old Master Jiang and said, "Did old Qin tell you to call me Old Mr. Shi?" Old Master Jiang shook his head in disdain and denied it. "Even if you turn into ashes, you don't deserve to be called Old Mr. It's better to call you Old Man Shi. Everyone feels comfortable, and you don't sound awkward." As he spoke, he walked past Shi Jintian and grabbed Yunwu's hand. He said to Shi Jintian, "Stop fighting. Don't lose face for Yunwu. Look at our Yunwu, he's as beautiful as our Fian." Shi Jintian snorted and pulled Yunwu from Old Master Jiang's hand to his side. He said angrily with dissatisfaction, "Our Yunwu is a dignified man." Qin Rongfang was unhappy when he heard this. He rolled up his sleeves. "What do you mean? Our Fian is not a dignified man? Do you want to fight?" Shi Jintian said disdainfully, "You think you can beat me? I don't want to be compared to someone like you who isn't on the same level. If you don't believe me, in a few years, I'll have a grandson in my hands. You'll have to bring Zhao Zhao's son to bear the surname Qin. Let's see if old Jiang is willing to give him to you." "Zhao Zhao's son, so what if he brings one to bear the surname Qin? Are you envious that I have so many children and grandchildren? Let me tell you, I've already told Fian. I've already found a place for artificial insemination. You must give birth. Give birth, give birth. I'll let Yunwu wait for Fian for a few years. Let me tell you, this is completely because I sympathize with you." Qin Rongfang said shamelessly. "You don't need to sympathize with me. You can even ask Yunwu to bring a fat boy for me. Grandpa Shi, Yunwu." Yunwu's shoulder was patted by someone. He turned around and saw that it was Jiang Zhao leading Yi Er over. Jiang Zhao first greeted Shi Jintian, then introduced Yi Er. Yi Er followed Jiang Zhao and bowed slightly. "Hello, Grandpa Qin." Shi Jintian kept praising Yi Er for being beautiful and sensible. When Yi Er saw Yunwu, the smile on her face froze. Shi Jintian's mood was also suppressed. He was afraid that others would notice something. Jiang Zhao shook hands with Yunwu and let go. Jiang Zhao saw that Yi Er didn't say anything and put an arm around her shoulder. "Yunyi?" Before Yi Er could recover from her shock, Yunwu had already reached out his hand to Yi Er. His eyes were clear and contained a gentle smile. "My name is Shi Yunwu. Shi as in place, N as in kindness, U as in blessing. Grandpa hoped that I would be blessed by God and be safe forever, so he gave me this name." Yi Er reached out to shake his hand. She was shocked to realize that Yunwu didn't seem to remember. "So your name is Shi Yunwu. Hello, long time no see. My name is Yunyi. Do you still remember?" Shi Jintian was still nervous. When he heard this, he knew that his grandson was imagining things. Jiang Zhao was stunned. Yunwu tightened his grip on Yi Er's hand. Then he chuckled and glanced at Jiang Zhao. "I used to say that I met a nouveau riche who didn't know how to appreciate my paintings. So her name is Yunyi. She's actually Brother Zhao's new wife. What fate." Jiang Zhao's expression softened a little. Yi Er pursed her lips. "So you don't remember my name? I remember telling you about it." Yunwu said, "You did?" Yi Er shrugged indifferently. "My name is a little tacky. You're an artist. It's normal that you don't remember." Jiang Zhao's large hand was still around Yi Er's shoulder. He patted her. "I think it's okay. It's elegant and doesn't match you." "Haha. You're so annoying." Yunwu didn't let go of Yi Er's hand. His smile was as warm as the tender willows sprouting in Jiangnan in February. It made people itch. He was polite, and his tone was appropriate. They didn't seem familiar. It was as if he had really just met Yi Er. "Nice to meet you." "Me too. Shi Yunwu. It's a very nice name." The two of them finally separated their hands. Qin Rongfang wasn't very calm, but he forced himself to be calm. He walked over and patted Yunwoo's shoulder. Unwoo, call her sister-in-law. When Unwoo looked at Jiang Zhao, he smiled very innocently. It was an expression of extreme embarrassment. His eyes were so clear that one could see the bottom. He reached out and scratched his head. Brother Zhao, I really can't say that. She looks so young. Jiang Zhao's brows relaxed. He was secretly thinking about Yi Er's outfit today. She was wearing a champagne-colored imported satin gown with a V-neck pleated sleeves. The epaulets on her shoulder pads were decorated with flashing diamonds and beads. The four-finger-wide belt accentuated her good figure. Although the color and style wasn't complicated, it was very elegant. It was slightly mature but not revealing. Ad. Xinwu 799. Chapter 492. Coupled with makeup and a loose bun, how could she possibly look young with such an outfit? Was she upset that he was much older than her? Many people had said that they were a good match today. Yi Er pursed her lips and looked at Jiang Zhao. You abducted and sold underage girls. Jiang Zhao covered her mouth with his hand and said fiercely, don't tell anyone about it. Otherwise, I'll put you under house arrest. After saying that, he laughed wantonly. Yi Er was also amused. Everyone standing there laughed at their interaction. Even old Master Jiang, who usually pretended to be serious, said, Zhao Zhao, don't act like a child after getting married. A man should be more mature. However, Qin Rongfang raised his elbow and hit old Master Jiang's arm. He snorted and said, you're interfering with my grandson's smile. Aren't you interfering too much? If Zhao Zhao can't even smile when he sees his wife, will you be happy? Old Master Jiang proudly raised his eyebrows. Can't help it. You have to take my surname, Jiang. Qin Rongfang snorted. Yi Er's heart trembled. She secretly begged, Zhao Zhao, give me some face and smile more. I'll rely on you from now on. Yunwoo's eyes were full of smiles. They were so warm that they seemed to be able to melt everything. When the servants came to lead the guests to their seats, Jiang Zhao and Qin Rongfang followed. Jiang Zhao and Yi Er were still standing there. Jiang Zhao turned and looked at Yi Er. His face was expressionless. He even helped Yi Er adjust the beads on her shoulder and asked, how long have you known him? More than a year. More than a year. He doesn't know your name? You don't know his name either? Yeah. I actually told him my name once, but he didn't remember it. But I didn't ask for his name. It's not a bad name. It sounds better than mine. Yi Er sighed. After that day, she didn't dare to go to Wudong Street again. It was good that he didn't remember. She was afraid of the embarrassment. Today, she felt like she was a thief who had been caught red-handed. Therefore, it was better to keep her worries to herself. She couldn't confide in anyone. It was too dangerous. Don't you have any friendship? I bought a few paintings. Last time. Yi Er suddenly felt that she couldn't continue. What should she do? Should she say it? You seem to be quite regretful that he doesn't remember your name, Jiang Zhao said before Yi Er could decide whether to say it or not. Yi Er pouted. Of course, how could there be such a person? I told him my name, but he couldn't remember it. How could he not be angry? But I can't lose my composure today, can I? If it was any other day, What would you do if it was any other day? Yi Er said fiercely, I would roll my eyes at him. Jiang Zhao snorted. Yi Er thought that Jiang Zhao disliked her for not behaving like a lady from a wealthy family, so she stopped bad-mouthing him behind his back. She held on to Jiang Zhao's arm and walked towards the restaurant. She started to praise Unwoo again. Did you notice that Unwoo is as beautiful as Fian? Both of them belong to the category where it's hard to tell if they're male or female and have soft skin and tender flesh. They're so good-looking that if they put on wigs, no one would know they're men. They're even better looking than women. Jiang Zhao said coldly, shallow. What do you mean shallow? Beautiful is beautiful. Using beautiful to describe a man, if you're not shallow, then what are you? Jiang Zhao shook off Yi Er's hand with a cold face and strode towards the restaurant alone. Yi Er was stunned. What did he dislike about her again? Shallow? Should she really go to school quickly? Otherwise, she would really be shallow. She quickly lifted her feet and chased after Jiang Zhao. Hubby, when Grandpa's birthday banquet is over, I'll go to school, okay? Hubby, what major do you think I should study? Why don't you help me pick one? You know a lot. Hubby, don't be like this. You're so serious. You're not as handsome as when you smile. Jiang Zhao stopped in his tracks and once again pried Yi Er's hand away from his arm. He reached out and pinched the collar of his suit. He lifted it up handsomely and then put it down. He slowly lifted his chin and outlined his strong features. His exquisite and powerful eyebrows raised slightly and his thin lips pursed into a smile. It was a smile that was full of masculinity and evil. He was so handsome that it made her heart beat faster. It doesn't matter if I'm handsome or not. Naturally, there will be people who like me and admire me. Go to the restaurant. There are beautiful young men there for you to drool over. Yi Er watched as the man turned and left. She stood there alone and was stunned. Was she that perverted? Did she flatter him wrongly? Her original intention was to say that he was very handsome and that he looked even more handsome when he smiled. She didn't say that he wasn't handsome and that he wasn't handsome either. Insulting others was just pretentious. If it was said that Jiang Zhao felt uncomfortable because Yi Er praised Yunwa's beauty, it was only temporary because Yunwa's eyes were clear and clean. The way he looked at Yi Er was also exceptionally clear. He was like that to everyone. Jiang Zhao only treated Yi Er as a child. It was understandable that she liked beautiful things. He wasn't that neurotic. However, when family Min came to celebrate the birthday, Jiang Zhao was obviously unhappy when he saw Min Zikai. What was this? His marriage partner was the ex-fiancée of the person who came to celebrate the birthday. Although she wasn't here for the wedding banquet, she was here to celebrate the birthday. However, Min Zikai looked at Yi Er with both love and hate. Jiang Zhao just wanted to find a golf club, raise it in the most beautiful position, and swing it towards his head. Brother Zhao, ninth sister is telling you that you should change your head to swing the club. Really? Jiang Zhao's speedy marriage wouldn't be sensationalized on the news. It was also impossible for the media to sensationalize this matter. After all, he was a political figure and not the head of state. However, the news quickly spread among the major families. When Min Zikai found out about this, he smashed something. It had only been a few days. A few days ago, he had talked to Yi Er on unparalleled beauty. He knew that Yi Er was against him, so he would take it slow. He had been too busy these few days and didn't pay attention to the gossip. How could it be that Yi Er was the one who proposed? Was it because of her father? She was willing to marry a man who was so much older than her for her father. She had even looked for him because of her younger brother. After that, she said she didn't want to help. Was it because of Jiang Zhao? Feng Yu had always felt that other than him, she would not rely on anyone else. But she had relied on someone else. Min Zikai had calmed down. He rushed back home. He must tell his family about this matter. What did it mean for Jiang Zhao to marry Yi Er? It meant that Jiang Zhao was openly opposing Mayor Chen. If this was the case, would it only affect Jiang Zhao? Qin family, Zhuo family, and Jiang family of Jiang district. There might be more people involved in this matter. Then what about family Min? Will they be the second Yin family? Jiang Zhao was not joking when he said those words. It's a pity to see the fall of a major family. Were they going to wait for their deaths? That was why the Min family brought a congratulatory gift to the banquet tonight. Today was the birthday banquet, and it was different from yesterday's banquet. So, there was not much difference between men and women. But the elders of the Qin family were still seated in the main hall. These were the rules set every year. Qin Rongfang was an experienced man. When he accepted family Min's toasts, he would say some nice words. But the birthday boy was not the main character. Min Zikai walked around the dining area and saw Yi Er and Jiang Zhao chatting with some female guests. He walked over with a slender champagne glass. Before Yi Er could turn around, Min Zikai's glass knocked against hers. Yi Er's glass shook when Min Zikai knocked against hers. Yi Er. After Min Zikai clinked glasses, he raised his slender champagne glass and was about to drink when Yi Er also raised her glass generously and smiled. Young Master Min, my husband is here. Please call me Mrs. Jiang. After saying that, Yi Er brought the wine cup to her lips and raised her head slightly. She also looked up. The light yellow liquid in the sparkling glass made it look like someone had sprinkled diamonds on it. It slowly slid into the woman's mouth. This woman who was drinking champagne exuded an elegant and seductive aura. Her gaze, which was originally looking upwards, suddenly turned to Jiang Zhao, who was beside her, and threw him a coquettish glance. Jiang Zhao froze for a second, then smiled and wrapped his arm around the woman's waist like a gentleman. Before Min Zikai's wine glass reached his mouth, he raised his own glass and clinked it with Min Zikai's. Young Master Min, are you here to wish us a blissful marriage? Thank you. Min Zikai was embarrassed and angry. After Jiang Zhao took a sip, he ignored Min Zikai's stiffness and clinked glasses with Yi Er. I wish Mrs. Jiang will always be beautiful. Humph, I'm not drinking. Yi Er pouted coquettishly. Oh. Why? How can anyone be beautiful forever? When I'm old and not beautiful anymore, you'll despise me. I'm not drinking. How can that be? In my eyes, Mrs. Jiang will always be beautiful. It has nothing to do with age. After Jiang Zhao finished speaking, he looked at Yi Er's puffed-up cheeks. At this moment, they deflated and the corners of her lips curved. He couldn't help but lift the hand around her waist and pull her closer to him. He lowered his head and planted a soft kiss on her forehead. Yi Er only felt her heart melt at this moment. This bastard, in order to provoke her ex-fiancé, did he have to say such mushy words of love? Did he have to kiss her so tenderly? She would be deceived to death by him. Let's drink a few more glasses tonight. Yi Er's eyes curved as she suggested coquettishly. Jiang Zhao raised his eyebrows and accepted the challenge. Let's get drunk. Do you dare? Min Zikai felt like he was unnecessary here. He had wanted to show off his intimacy with Yi Er in front of Jiang Zhao, but now he had let someone else show off their affection. Unwu stood in the distance and played with the red wine glass in his hand. When he saw the man kissing the woman's forehead, the stem of the glass snapped in his hand. The glass fell to the ground and broke into pieces of uneven sizes. The red wine spilled all over the handsome young man's shoes. The servant hurried over to help him wipe it off. He knelt down affectionately and took the white cloth from the servant's hand. When the servant saw the thin stem of the glass in his hand, she exclaimed, "Oh my God, young Master Yunwa's hand is bleeding. Let me throw it away." "No need," Unwu replied with a faint smile. "The broken glass is so sharp." "It's too sharp." Unwu handed the cloth back to the servant. "Thank you. Don't worry about the wound. I'll take care of it myself." He asked the servant to leave and looked at the stem of the glass in his hand. It was indeed sharp. Was it able to pierce his heart like a bullet? His gaze shifted again. The couple was still chatting and laughing. He tightened his grip on the stem of the glass and turned to walk over there. He had only taken a few steps when the host announced the start of the banquet. Yi Er and Jiang Zhao walked over to Qin Rongfang's side. Yunwa's sleeve was grabbed. "Your hand is bleeding. Let me wrap it for you." Attention, Hongcha 866. Chapter 493. Turning his head, Unwoo saw a girl with a ponytail. She looked very innocent, and her eyes looked like she was 16 or 17 years old. Her black hair fell over her shoulders, and a headband gathered the hair on her forehead, revealing her bright forehead. No need. Fei Yu. Qin Fian walked over and called out to the girl, "Grandpa called you over. What are you doing here?" "Brother, this brother's hand is bleeding. Call the family doctor to bandage it." Fei Yu looked at Yunwoo's hand, which was still bleeding. "Unwoo, are you okay?" Qin Fian also frowned. He didn't care if Unwoo refused, and said to Fei Yu, "Little Yu, call Uncle Wu to call Dr. Zhang over. The glass was cut. We need to see if there are any shards inside." Fei Yu heard her brother's words and hurriedly went to find the housekeeper. Qin Fian took the cup from Yunwoo's hand and threw it in the bin. Looking at the wound on Yunwoo's finger, he said guiltily, "Unwoo, I'm sorry. The quality of this cup is too low." Qin Fian muttered in his heart. Zhuang Yichen, this guy, even said that his nightclub would import a batch of crystal cups from Italy as a gift for the old man's birthday. All the cups used for this banquet would be provided by him. This was not a small sum, but it was so fragile. "Brother Yan, you're too serious." "I was careless." Yi Er said that Qin Fian and Unwoo were both delicate men, as beautiful as women. But they were different. If Qin Fian smiled, it was as if he could steal a person's soul. He was so devilish that people couldn't help but want to tease him. As for Enyo, no matter what, he was as indifferent as a pool of water. Just looking at him made one's heart itch, and it was hard to endure. One couldn't bear to say anything unpleasant to his ears. Unwoo saw that the couple had already taken their seats, so he let Qin Fian take the cup in his hand. He swore in his heart, "Yun whether it's white clouds or dark clouds, you can't float out of my sky." Jiang Zhao was a sensitive man. He could sense Yi Er's attitude towards Min Zikai. Even if he had feelings for Min Zikai, it was likely that he had been hurt when he broke off the engagement. He was very satisfied with her performance just now and felt that she should be rewarded. He whispered into her ear, "Mrs. Jiang, I have a gift for you tonight." "What gift?" Yi Er was a little excited. She picked up the glass and took a sip of the juice. "I want to reward you with a new position tonight and give you something new." Yi Er hurriedly covered her mouth and used all her strength to prevent herself from spitting out the juice that had just entered her mouth. Every table was covered with a large tablecloth that almost reached the ground. Yi Er sat beside Jiang Zhao and realized that the man had already pulled the tablecloth lightly and covered her legs. She wanted to shrink back, but her knees were caught by the man's strong hands. Yi Er sat on the stool, allowing the pair of hands under the tablecloth to do whatever they wanted. Her face was flushed red. Unwoo chose to sit at the same table as Jiang Zhao and Jiang Zhao. From time to time, he would exchange a few words with Yi Er and Jiang Zhao. Min Zikai seemed to be unwilling to give up. He wanted to sit at the same table as Yi Er, but his mother stopped him. At the same table sat Jiang Zhao, Yi Er, Qin Feiyu, Qin Fian, Unwoo, Jiang Rui, and Xiang Wan. When Seng Tingting came, it could be described as a passing breeze. Last night, she wanted to come no matter what. However, Zheng Weiguo ordered her to stay at home because Seng Tingting threatened not to let Jiang Zhao get married smoothly. Great, now that the marriage certificate had been taken, no matter how much she struggled, it would be useless. Today was the birthday. She called Qin Rongfang and said that she wanted to come to the birthday celebration. How could Qin Rongfang not agree? He even scolded Zheng Weiguo, saying that how could he discipline his child like this? He must bring Tingting over for dinner. Qin Rongfang had no choice. Even if he knew that there would be some commotion today, he had to agree. He could not be so narrow-minded. Seng Tingting came to the birthday celebration, but she only said a few auspicious words to Qin Rongfang. Then she went to Jiang Zhao's table and threw her handbag on the table. She did not care about the eyes of others and directly sat down on the chair next to Jiang Zhao. Yi Er was not worried about Seng Tingting at all. She could intuitively feel that Jiang Zhao would not like this kind of girl. Although she pretended to be a lady outside, she could not bear loneliness and could not bear it for long. Unlike her, she could bear it all the way until the end, leaving Jiang Zhao speechless. However, Tsing Tingting was too ferocious. Her retaliation was too severe. Jiang Zhao would not like such a girl. If he wanted to guard against her, he should guard against the virtuous northern city golden silk bird beside his grandfather. Tsing Tingting was indeed as Yi Er thought. She was impatient. She had a good reputation outside, but that was because she did not appear for long. Now, with Mrs. Temper and her resentment towards Jiang Zhao and Yi Er, she said that it was an engagement. It had only been a day, but they had already gotten their marriage certificate. It was infuriating. The words that came out of her mouth were very sharp and unkind. The table was round. As long as she tilted her head and leaned forward slightly, she could see past Jiang Zhao and see Yi Er. She said angrily, Yi Er, do you think you can be a phoenix just because you climbed up the tree? Haven't you heard that a plucked phoenix is inferior to a chicken? Unwu frowned and lowered his eyelashes to prevent others from seeing the change in his emotions. He slowly clenched his fists. He knew about the Yun family's affairs and could understand what she meant when she lied on the grass and said that she had sold herself to him. Other than heartache, there was nothing else. If it were his woman, he would never allow others to humiliate her at such an event. Jiang Zhao's face darkened. He turned his head and was about to scold her when Yi Er grabbed his hand and tugged at it, signaling him not to speak. At this moment, Yi Er had a bright smile on her face. She held Jiang Zhao's arm and intimately leaned over. She said to Tsing Tingting, I know that I'm inferior to Miss Tseng. I've never denied it. In an instant, everyone at the table spat out wine, water, and whatever else came out of their mouths. However, they hurriedly grabbed their napkins to block it. Everyone went pft. Unwu immediately laughed. If Yi Er was a plucked phoenix, then wouldn't Tsing Tingting be a chicken? Jiang Zhao squeezed Yi Er's hand and stroked it with his other hand. Yes, his woman should be like this. How could he let others bully her? He could bully her, but not others. No matter if it was a man or a woman. Yi Er held Jiang Zhao's arm as if no one else was around. She looked at Tsing Tingting talking to Jiang Zhao. Hubby, a phoenix has plucked its feathers. You have to buy more clothes for her to wear. Even if she can't be a phoenix, she should at least look like a peacock. However, Jiang Zhao lowered his head and whispered in her ear, it's better if she doesn't wear it. She doesn't have to take it off. When Yi Er heard Jiang Zhao's perverted words, she instantly felt discouraged. She lowered her head and said softly, I'm hungry. Just as she finished speaking, she heard Jiang Zhao's low voice again. I'll feed you at night. I'll make sure you're full. Don't worry. Yi Er started to pretend that she didn't hear anything. Tsing Tingting was fuming. She was scolded, but everyone treated her as a joke. Jiang Zhao didn't even take it seriously. Jiang Rui and Xiang Wan pretended that they didn't see what they were talking about. Unwu liked Yi Er more and more. Since Grandpa didn't allow them to be so brazen, he wanted her to come to him willingly one day and leave him willingly. Very good, Tsing Tingting. Compared to Tsing Tingting, Ouyang Yen was much more well-behaved. She didn't provoke them and didn't come over to look for trouble. Many people toasted Qin Rongfang, and Ouyang Yen was even more considerate than her own granddaughter. Qin Fian looked over and said helplessly, Brother, it's really inappropriate. Sister Yan's surname isn't Qin yet. She's busy over there. I'll go over and help her. You're a newlywed, take your time to enjoy it. Brother, sister-in-law, I'll go over to Grandpa's place first. Qin Fian stood up and greeted them. Jiang Rui said, Go ahead. Qin Fian patted Yunwu's shoulder again. Unwu, I'm sorry for not serving you well. Unwu shook his head and smiled. Brother Yan, you're always so formal. Go ahead. Qin Fian lifted his butt and Fei Yu sat beside Unwu. The little girl blinked her eyes. You're Grandpa Shi's grandson? Is your hand better? Why didn't you bandage it? Unwoo saw that Fei Yu wanted to reach out to him, so he took the opportunity to put his injured hand on his thigh. I'm not used to being bandaged, and it's uncomfortable. The doctor has already disinfected it. It's fine now that the bleeding has stopped. I'm sorry to have made little Yu worried. Yi Er heard that and quickly turned to look at Unwoo. She stood up and walked over, asking with concern, Unwoo is injured? Unwoo stretched out his hand from his thigh and showed it to Yi Er. He smiled indifferently. It was cut by the broken glass just now. Yi Er held Yunwoo's hand and looked at the wound on his slender index finger. It wasn't bleeding badly, but it felt wet. Unwoo closed his mouth and breathed slowly. He felt his hand in her palm. He didn't have to do that. He could have held her hand and strolled around, experiencing the joy brought by her laughter. It was a feeling that he hadn't experienced for more than 10 years. He missed it for a while, but he couldn't miss it forever. He looked at his hand, and his nose was filled with the scent of her perfume. The fragrance was different from the thin layer of makeup on her face. It was faint and lingered in his mind. How can you not bandage it? It'll definitely be infected. How can you be so stubborn? Yi Er's tone sounded like she was talking to her younger brother, Si Jie. She was worried, angry, and scolding. Then she turned to leave. I'm going to find something to bandage it for you. Wait here. Jiang Zhao walked over to Yi Er's side and pulled her back to her seat. He called out to a servant. I'll have to trouble Dr. Zhang to come over and bandage young Master Yunwoo's wound. Unwoo thought for a moment. This time, he didn't refuse. He had been too pleased with himself just now. Jiang Zhao couldn't escape Yunwoo's little actions. When Fei Yu wanted to take a look for him, he withdrew his hand. However, Yi had only asked him a question and he had already extended his hand. And Yi Er was so concerned about him. Just as Jiang Zhao's thoughts were slowly sinking, Unwoo chuckled and said, It's good to bandage it. If my girlfriend sees it tomorrow, she'll disturb me again. I'm really afraid of her. Wasn't she disturbing him like this right now? She hated him for being stubborn and was afraid he'd be infected. Was this what a girlfriend was like? Everyone could hear Yunwoo's tone. If that girl was next to him, he would definitely rub her hair very, very lovingly. This boy who usually looked at everyone the same way had a gorgeous light in his eyes. Jiang Zhao thought he was seeing things. When he looked at Yi Er again, she looked relieved and relieved. He really thought too much. It was normal for people to leave at a banquet. But in a rich and powerful family, there were many people trying to curry favor. It was already past 11, but the crowd was still there. Jiang Zhao naturally had more to deal with. Welfare, Hongcha 866. Chapter 494. When a man looked for another man to talk about important matters, he would send his wife to accompany another man's wife. They would either gossip or play mahjong. Those who looked for Yi Er were more gossipy. Yi Er came from a wealthy family, so she knew that she shouldn't talk too much. She stopped at a certain point. Actually, she didn't know much about Jiang Zhao, and those who tried to worm their way into being friends with her wanted to know more about his policies. Yi Er avoided the topic perfectly. Mrs. Li, what are you talking about? I don't know much about men's affairs. No wonder there are so few women in politics. Just listening to the news gives me a headache. It wasn't until Yi Er was called away by Ouyang Yen that the troublesome social interactions ended. Yi Er didn't want to go, but she didn't want to lose the battle. The flower rack in the backyard was too annoying. Yi Er didn't go over and stood at the doorway. Speak. Ouyang Yen could feel her impoliteness towards Ouyang Yen. Do you have a problem with me? Yi Er shrugged. No problem. It would be weird if she didn't have a problem. A mistress was so arrogant. Ouyang Yen worked in the prosecutor's office. Not only did she handle anti-corruption cases, but she also handled appeals from the Public Security Bureau. She was more observant, analytical, and discerning than most women. Yi Er's hostility towards her was too obvious, even though she tried to hide it. The older the ginger, the spicier it was. Yi Er knew how to conduct herself, but she still hadn't learned how to be a mistress in front of a mistress. Yang Yan tried to sound her out. She spoke first with a hint of provocation. I'm staying at Qingbei condominium. Yi Er got angry when she heard this. What's so great about you? You're just a mistress. Besides, I don't want to live in the apartment in the north of the city anymore. I'm just giving you the place where I used to sleep. Yang Yan suddenly smiled brightly. Yi Er was still young after all. His words were filled with jealousy and he had already revealed too much information. Yang Yan carefully analyzed the other party's mentality and probed further. A mistress isn't a big deal, but what if the person the man loves is a mistress? Then you can continue to be loved by him like this. Continue to be a golden bird in the north of the city. Yi Er had always been wary of the existence of the Yang Yan, but she didn't know that this woman would be so shameless as to confront her directly. She wanted to keep the peace, but she didn't give her a chance. Yang Yan could finally confirm that Yunyi definitely did not know that she and Jiang Zhao were not really together. Yes, they were not together. She came back and bought baby's breath and lilac to tell him that she missed him very, very much. If not for this Yunyi, the one getting the marriage certificate with Jiang Zhao would be her, Yang Yan. Jiang Zhao married Yunyi because he was forced by circumstances. Maybe they were not as good as they looked, and they were just putting on an act. If not, why would Yunyi treat her like this? Yang Yan said. I want to make a deal with you. Yi Er flatly refused, not interested. Yang Yan said confidently. It is related to your father. Oh. Yi Er finally looked at Yang Yan. Your father's case is still with the Public Security Bureau, and there is no appeal to the prosecutor's office. There is something fishy about this case. Jiang Zhao is only a deputy mayor and is not a member of the standing committee. If he helped your father and did not harm his and the Qin family's interests, your father would have been tortured to death. I have a solution for your father's case, and I don't want to drag Jiang Zhao into this. Yang Yan was not a fool. Yi Er was jealous because she cared about Jiang Zhao. What if she used the best of both worlds to tempt her? Yi Er took a deep breath and asked. What do you want? Yang Yan's picturesque eyebrows held a faint smile, but it carried a trace of coldness. She stood in front of Yi Er and tilted her chin slightly forward as she slowly said, I want Jiang Zhao. I want him to belong to me alone. I don't want to be a prostitute in the north of the city. I want to be the legitimate Mrs. Jiang. You, ask for a divorce from him. Yi Er just stood there. She was considered to be very tall among girls, but she was still very tall. She was still wearing high heels and a mature gown. She stood there and felt that her height was shrinking. The backyard door was smaller than the front door, but there was still a red lantern hanging on the lintel to show the festive mood from yesterday. The lantern would be hanging for a few more days. It was because old Master Qin's precious grandson was getting engaged. That granddaughter-in-law was standing under the lantern, and her face was red. Yi knew that her breathing was a little unstable. She just looked at the woman in front of her. This woman was 4 or 5 centimeters shorter than her, but that kind of arrogance and confidence rushed up from the bottom of her feet. No matter how she looked at her, she was a person who stood aloof from worldly affairs. But this woman was fighting with her for a man. She was using the most important man in her life to fight. She didn't know how this woman did it. Even when she was threatening people like this, she was still calm and collected, just like Jiang Zhao. No matter what she did, she could do it without panicking. There was absolutely no flaw in it. She was clearly the one wearing a gorgeous evening gown today and was helping her grandfather receive the guests as a member of the Qin family. Yang Yan was just a guest, but she treated everyone like a member of the family. She was polite and courteous to everyone. Everyone said that she didn't look like an inspector, but a gentle and virtuous housewife. Didn't she want to be Jiang Zhao's wife? Ouyang Yan was undoubtedly arrogant. Her arrogance was different from Tsing Tingting's. Tsing Tingting's arrogance didn't have any foundation and only made people find it funny. Ouyang Yan was like a strategist, like a chess player who could see through the game. Once upon a time, she also sat arrogantly in front of Jiang Zhao and threatened him. Jiang Zhao asked her for her conditions. She said that she wanted to reduce her father's sentence. Otherwise, she would spread all those photos. But what she got was ruthless revenge. Ouyang Yan. This eyesore, how could she take revenge on her? What a joke. Why should I not trust my husband and trust you? Why do you think you can threaten me? Because you are a mistress? Because I am now firmly in the position of Mrs. Jiang? Because you only dare to threaten me and ask me to divorce my husband in such a place? Are you threatening me? Who do you think you are? Yi Er was almost imitating Jiang Zhao's tone to fight back against Ouyang Yan. She could only use the word husband to replace Jiang Zhao with the word husband to declare her status and to increase her confidence. She had to learn to use the imposing manner of a fox borrowing the tiger's might to resist the other party with an aggressive aura. She had no choice. She was forced to this point and was so blatantly forced by a mistress. She had to defend what she wanted to defend. Even if this marriage was obtained through improper means, she still had to defend it. Miss from a prestigious family like Ouyang Yan could also swallow her anger and be a mistress. Even if she wanted to be promoted to the main wife, she did not dare to make trouble with Jiang Zhao. Why? Was it because she was afraid that Jiang Zhao would hate her? She knew that Jiang Zhao would not like a woman like Tsing Tingting who did not know how to endure. A man like him who had lived a good life since he was young and had an excellent career development was arrogant and looked down on everything. How could he allow a woman to climb over his head? Ouyang Yan knew the logic behind this. So she had been enduring and being an obedient person until she avoided everyone's eyes before coming to find her. She did not directly find Jiang Zhao to make trouble, but instead came to find her. Wasn't it said that a smart mistress would persuade a man not to divorce because she was willing to suffer? On the surface, Ouyang Yan was willing to suffer in front of Jiang Zhao, but behind her back, she came to provoke and coerce? What did Ouyang Yan say? The person the man loved was a mistress. She did not care if there was any love between them. Even if she could not get his love, she would get his person. She had always felt that Jiang Zhao was not a good person from the beginning, but now she liked this bad person. She knew that he was a pervert, he was a hypocrite, he was an out-and-out cunning man. He would not make a losing deal, he would only do things for his own benefit. She was also not a good woman from the beginning. She threatened, he took revenge, she resisted, and he attacked. She had an impure motive to interact with him step by step and make a deal with him. They each took what they needed. She relied on his power and he enjoyed her body. They both felt that it was natural and no one owed the other. But he was much better than those sanctimonious men. Even if he did not promise, he would do what he had to do. He would not brush her off. Min Zikai was her ex-fiancé. When she needed help the most, the family Min broke off the engagement. That man left just like that without even a word of comfort. His mother abandoned everyone and fled far away. When the company closed down, she was not even 18 years old and had to run to various judicial departments. She did not know anything. To repay the debts, she could only rely on the family's real estate. She sold the houses one by one and dealt with the factory and company. She wanted to be like those girls on TV who suddenly stood up when her father's company was about to close down and turn the tide. But she felt that it was very difficult. She could not. She did not understand financial statements, did not know management, and did not know how to communicate with the shareholders. When the workers went on strike, she could not do anything. She could only find a lawyer to auction and transfer. She lost everything that her father had worked hard for. She took the only property that her father could not sell, the old house that her brother lived in 80 years ago. She struggled for so long. Even if Jiang Zhao suppressed her in all aspects and attacked her in all aspects, He was the only man who had given her the most substantial and direct help. Now, this man was her husband. Suddenly, a woman appeared and wanted to snatch it from her like this. She wanted her to pack up and leave. No way. Ouyang Yen was a woman who had a deep understanding of people's hearts. She had faced many people. Communicating, digging, and finding clues were her strengths. Every look in Yi Er's eyes, whether the soles of her feet were on the ground, whether her breath was trembling when she spoke, whether her fists were clenched unnaturally, or whether her tone was weak and she was trying to hide her emotions. Nothing could escape her eyes. Why? Because I've been with him for more than 10 years. Because when I wasn't by his side, those things in the apartment in the north of the city were still things that I bought for him. The clock on the wall, the sofa at home, the tie in the wardrobe. Based on the fact that Sing Tingting learned how to please Jiang Zhao like me, based on the fact that Ouyang Yan's tone was unhurried, and the speed of her speech was getting slower and slower. She followed Yi Er's eyes and did not relax at all. Based on the fact that even if he married you, he would still be with me. It was one thing for Yi Er to know that Jiang Zhao had someone in his heart, but it was another thing for a mistress to openly provoke him like this. She was thinking, what would happen if Ouyang Yen went out to greet the guests with the fingerprints on her face? Would she cry and complain about how she was beaten up? Would she run to Jiang Zhao to take advantage of him? The key was Grandpa. It seemed like Grandpa was very satisfied with Ouyang Yen. There were many people who were against this marriage, especially the Qin family. If she slapped her, she would definitely hit the muzzle of a gun. She was afraid that she would not be able to bear the consequences. Attention, Songshu 566. You're tuning into the Dreamy Love Stories YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.